Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of the Cinematropolis.com, your home to thoughtful conversations on film. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and today we're taking another stab at a 30-year-old horror franchise that is very beloved by a lot of people, and we're here to answer the question, does it really need more entries? Well, we're going to find out. That is right. We are reviewing Scream 7. We're going to start things off the same way we always do with an icebreaker question before jumping into a spoiler-free review of the film where we'll provide a verdict. And then we'll close out the show, as always, with our spoiler-filled and analysis discussion. Joining me today, he is my co-host, an award-winning Oklahoma filmmaker, perhaps the biggest screenhead I have ever met. That is, until today. Laron Chapman, welcome back to the show.
Great to be back. Another year, another Scream movie. I feel like Caleb, we've lived through 3 of these together. You know,
we have.
That's kind of crazy to say. You know, I this is how I track my friendships with everyone: is how many Scream movies have we been through together? We have 3.
Laron, we couldn't do it alone. In fact, this panel we have today, from what I understand, is something of the Avengers of the Scream fans that we know. I'm excited to welcome back. He is an Oklahoma filmmaker, massive Scream fan, Chris Oz McIntosh. Chris, welcome back.
So happy to be back. So happy to be talking about another Scream. But I will say I have my eyes on all of you guys because everyone is a suspect. Everyone's a suspect.
Everyone is a suspect. And, you know, the boundaries of virtual recording cannot contain Ghostface, as we all know. So you're not safe. No one is safe on this podcast. Last but certainly not least, very excited to be joined by, he is the Brockness monster of art directors in the business, Brock Lay. Brock, welcome back. Hey, Brock. Hello. Laron, you saw Brock. You saw him actually at Screen 7. He said he was going to be here, right?
Can't say.
Time is of the essence here, so we got to get someone to fill that seat. So sorry, Brock. This must be some sort of payback for you not inviting him to your Scream birthday party like several years ago. So he's showing us up. Laron, keeping that in mind, do you know anyone who specializes in horror film discussions or maybe a horror film podcast, particular to the Scream franchise? Anyone you can think of?
Oh, I've got the guy.
Hey guys, I heard you guys needed someone to talk about Scream 7 with.
Oh my gosh, that's Danny Salim from How I Met Your Monster podcast? What?
Oh, you bet your ass it is.
Oh my God. Yes. Laron, you came through. Danny, it's great to have you. Laron, I of course making the connections real fast. So that's right. Danny Salim, the co-host of the How I Met Your Monster podcast, also an award-winning screenwriter since we last talked. That's really cool. Yeah. Danny, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk horror movies with you guys, especially a Scream movie.
Well, this is going to be so much fun. Really glad to have this amazing cast to review Scream 7. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is our first discussion in about 6 weeks. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus, and hopefully you've been by our YouTube channel to check us out there. You can subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, give our videos a like, would be a really great way to support the show. And of course, you can give us a follow on Instagram. Laron and I have been doing a lot more work on the Instagram channel lately. Have a lot of mini reviews that we are posting directly to Instagram first, usually delivered as audio to podcast subscribers later. But check those out. As always, leave us a rating and a review on your preferred podcast app. That'll help us get discovered by more Stab fans just like you. Let's kick things off, as we always do, with our icebreaker question. And listen, guys, we're 7 movies into a horror movie franchise. And I thought, what better way to break the ice than to talk about retcons? Retcons, we all know what retconning is here, right?
Yes, sir.
So for listeners who might not be familiar, or maybe you've heard it, but you need it defined for you, a retcon aka the full term is retroactive continuity. And very, very famous in horror movie franchises. Comic books are notorious for retconning. This is the act, practice, or result of changing an existing fictional narrative by introducing new information in a later work that recontextualizes the previously established events. So, as you can imagine, horror is rife with retconning. So, what is your favorite retcon in the horror genre? And Chris Oz McIntosh, I'll throw it to you first.
Okay, so it's an oldie, but one of my favorites is undoubtedly 1981's Halloween 2, which recontextualizes Laurie Strode as not some random girl that Michael Myers is stalking, but actually his younger sister. I think it's one of my favorites because even though the retcon itself is retconned years later, that plot point is really what propelled the franchise into the juggernaut that it is today. And I think if they hadn't done that, I'm not sure Halloween would have been around as long. And some of my favorite Halloweens, Halloween 4 is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. It wouldn't be a movie had they not made Laurie Strode Michael Myers' sister.
Oh my gosh, another Halloween 4 fan. It's very specific, but I love Halloween 4. I don't really like 5 as much, and I definitely don't like 6. But Halloween 4, that's a great movie. I'll go to bat for that movie. Yeah.
Thank you.
People don't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, you mean that sounds like a direct to DVD sequel? No, it's not as good as the original, but man, it's really fun. It's got the fan service, but it's doing enough new that I had a lot of fun. Like especially like the mob driving around town hunting him down. Like there's a lot of fun stuff in that movie. I have to say. So
and Danielle Harris deserves, her seat on the Scream Queen throne.
I concur.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the
she is
all-time
excellent.
greatest. Yeah, I was going to say one of the all-time greatest child actor performances
Yep.
in a horror
without
movie,
a doubt.
especially.
Yep.
Even in which I don't like, but she is quite good in it though. So
She's giving a really interesting performance in 5 for all the flaws that movie has. The fact that she's that age and like going for something is like such a it's wild. It's a testament to her talent.
She's definitely the highlight of Halloween 5, no doubt. This is great. I had not that retcon, but I did have other Halloween retcons on my potentials here. So I'm glad we got Halloween out of the way first because it is notorious for retconning multiple times over. But you're right, Chris. The last thing I'll say on that is making Laurie Strode the sister of the killer is like one of those decisions that I feel like has actually shaped horror, specifically slasher films, for like 40 years. Not just for the Halloween franchise, but I feel like that really sets the like expectation that a lot of people had of like everything's connected. What's the connection to the killer that we saw? It was really prevalent throughout the slasher films in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. So great pick.
Cool.
Danny.
Yeah, I agree.
Danny, what is your favorite pick for favorite retcon?
It's funny because I probably should say Scream 3, which is funny enough, kind of the retcon in that with Roman Bridger is sort of like a Laurie and Michael situation where you find out that there's a sibling and they're connected. But I'm going to go with Bride of Frankenstein, actually.
Okay.
At the end of Frankenstein, they die in the end. And then, spoiler alert, but in the sequel, they come back and they have what some argue, is maybe the superior movie in the Frankenstein franchise. It's interesting because I don't know. I think I prefer Bride of Frankenstein over the original. Obviously, the original Frankenstein's incredible, but there's such like a really fun. There's a lot to dissect, I guess, in Frankenstein 2, especially within like the queer community. Between like the filmmaker and a lot of the themes, and some of it just like very on the nose little details. If you go back and watch it with that lens or with that kind of like expectation, it's really fascinating. So the fact that we got that movie despite the what was set up as a death in the first one is makes that specific retcon stand out for me.
Yeah, no, great pick, Bride of Frankenstein. No, I think that that film has appreciated over the years, and of course, it's a timely pick because we are getting The Bride ! In theaters very soon. I think next week, as early as next week. It's early March, so it's coming soon. It's a very timely pick. Maybe a great time for listeners to go back and rewatch The Bride of Frankenstein. I know it's been a while since I've checked it out.
Yeah,
Man, I said mine was an oldie.
I know. I was like, wait, what? It's so funny. It just like it popped in my head, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a retcon. That counts. Okay, good.
Totally a retcon. Way back in the day.
Oh, it's a great pick. Great pick.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Laron Chapman, what is your pick for favorite retcon in a horror movie?
My favorite horror retcon actually was David Gordon Green's first Halloween, because it kind of retroactively took away or scrubbed away Halloween Resurrections from everyone's memory, because that was not the way Laurie Strode was supposed to go out. But then he made Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, and so it kind of and I know people on this panel have different opinions about those movies. But for me, so that being said, I'm not going to pick that one. I don't know if this one technically counts, but Bride of Chucky is one of my all-time guilty pleasures. And I think that the way it recontextualizes Charles Lee Ray's relationship to everything, and then adding such a fun supporting character that's gone on to continue making it through the television series. Now it's crazy. Apparently they're going to do something else, maybe an additional film. At this point, if you are a fan of that franchise and you're not watching that television show, you don't know anything about Chucky, guys, because there's so much that has been recontextualized in that context, So yeah, Bride of Chucky is a guilty pleasure that I just love to put on every Halloween. So,
man, Laron, definitely due for a rewatch on that. Love The Bride of Chucky, and that fundamentally shifted the whole franchise after that.
I think so. I think it needed Jennifer Tilly, and at this point, I think she's the preferred of the two at this point, because she's just so fun and wild and crazy. But it's a fun character.
And still fantastic.
Still great.
The Chucky TV series. She's still
going full on into it, give it an 110%.
More horror scream queen royalty, obviously, on the evil end of things, but I think it still counts.
Yeah,
for sure.
Great picks. Some intergenerational. I'm gonna go. So we got our way back pick. We got our 70s, 80s, early 80s pick. I'm gonna go with the Saw franchise, my guilty pleasure franchise. I'm not really into torture porn, but I really love the soap opera-like nature of those films. And I'm always like, what's the twist going to be? How are these characters interconnected? The franchise is notorious, absolutely notorious for retcon after retcon after retcon. It's so much so that Jigsaw dies in the third film. And there's 4 more films before the final chapter. And then they reboot it with Jigsaw. And then we get a Spiral movie, and then we get yet another Saw with Saw X.
I think he's coming back for another one too.
Can't wait. So yes, and he died in 3, and we've gotten. So we'll be up to 8 movies post-mortem Jigsaw.
Pretty funny.
It is so confusing.
So confusing.
Like the timeline of that is so confusing. Going with Saw X, because it is so strange, and we said it after we watched it. We were like, why am I low-key rooting for Jigsaw?
right?
I feel like he's right, in this scenario. So
it retcons your feelings on the whole franchise the whole time. You're like, yeah, Jigsaw's right.
Because what's crazy is all the other ones when going through it, it's you're like, oh, this guy's crazy. I'm just here for the kills. This person probably did a bad thing, but I feel like that's a little extreme, don't you think? I mean, she's a drug addict, but my God, the blood she had to release for this. But you get to this one, and it's no, these are genuinely horrible people that deserve some form of, comeuppance. And, so yeah, it's very,
in a way, it's kind of it evolved like the famous slasher movies of the 80s, where those movies kind of started where you do the hero characters, the good guys. And then later, it's just sort of the most detestable or cliche caricatures,
sure.
And you're like, kill them. Who cares? I just want to see I want to see how they kill them instead of how they survive.
I'm definitely rooting for Jason. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Jason is definitely right too. He never speaks, but you know what? the people he's going after definitely had it coming.
And they're on his property.
Yeah.
Jason is the get off my lawn of serial killers.
Oh,
But I
Jason
still support it.
infested woods, not shark infested waters. It's Jason infested woods.
Jason infested
This is his territory. What are you guys doing here? You can't have sex over here. Get out of here.
My one notable, I do think Saw X being a nice little proper retcon where it retcons how you feel about the entire franchise. I also have to say my very favorite was Saw 4 when you find out, oh no, Jigsaw did not have one, but he actually had a second secret apprentice, which is that's the vehicle they used to propel the franchise for 4 more entries. It's insane. And it makes basically no sense, but man, it's fun.
He's so prophetic. My goodness. So forward thinking.
It is definitely the horror soap opera. That's what it is.
I've never associated soap opera with Saw, but that's 100% what it is. That's hilarious.
Rewatch it in that context, and you'll see this is camp. This is like
everything is super silly. It's like, oh my gosh, that drug addict from the second movie was the great aunt's niece's brother of this really important character in Saw 8. It's like what?
Someone really loved like 7, like David Fincher's 7, and said, you know what, I want to make a ridiculous like soap opera like version of that with, and that's what it feels like,
Also, maybe one last retcon on Saw. In Saw 7, when he shows up wearing a backwards ball cap to get a book signed. It's one sign in the movie.
Because he's younger, and how else do you show that someone is younger?
It's the dorkiest thing ever.
The OG de-aging, you guys. The original de-aging.
Backwards hat.
Sideways.
Oh my gosh. Listeners.
That had to have been intentional. They had to have been like, guys, how stupid is this?
That's it, Chris. You're not fooling, Chris. I see your hat.
Shots fired. No. Wow. Laron, you're one to speak. You've got a front wearing hat. I mean, what are you trying to hide up there?
Because I accept reality. I accept the truth. No.
Oh my gosh. Man, listeners, what is your favorite horror movie retcon? You can let us know by commenting below YouTube video, below the Instagram video, or sending us an email at thecinematrops@gmail.com. Gentlemen, we have some important housekeeping to get to. We are going to get to a spoiler-free review of Scream 7 shortly. But this movie, there's a lot going on in the behind-the-scenes drama of the movie that I think might be relevant, because whether or not it informs how viewers who don't know about it feel about the movie, it did inform how I think probably a lot of us were sort of watching and preparing for the movie. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give a super short rundown. Feel free to interject if I miss anything. I promise I will not read everything in my notes. Super short context, listeners. Scream got rebooted in 2022. It was titled Scream. For some reason, I still think that was a silly choice. Scream 5 was really what it should have been. Or, Brock Lay coined. He's not here to defend it, but he did say it should have been called 5 Cream.
Yes, that's what I call it.
I mean, it's the proper title, really. Mm-hmm. And it was directed by the Ready or Not directing duo. I'm going to mispronounce their names, but they're also known as Radio Silence. The movie starred Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega as 2 new co-leads of the series, but it also had supporting cast Jack Quaid, Jasmine Savoy Brown, Mason Gooding, sort of like the next generation of cast among another number of other folks. Of course, Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette all came back. That is until David Arquette got killed, R.I.P. The film was a huge critical and financial hit, so they got a quick follow-up the very next year, Scream 6. Neve Campbell notably did not appear in Scream 6 due to a pay dispute. Her specific quote was, "I didn't feel right. I just knew that my value to this franchise was bigger than what it had been offered. For me, I needed to make that choice." We still got Courtney Cox back in Scream 6, but no Neve Campbell. It was also a huge hit. And this is where things start to get a little dicey. We've had 2 winners in a row. And then in August 2023, Radio Silence, the directing duo, Bettinelli, Olfen, and Gillette exited the project due to scheduling conflicts with their horror movie Abigail, another film we reviewed on this podcast and quite liked. And then he was replaced by Christopher Landon from Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day 2. The big plot twist, though, came on November 21st, 2023. It was reported that Melissa Barrera, the new face of the Scream series, She was in Scream 5 and Scream 6. She was set to play a major role in Scream 7. She was fired from the 7th film due to making some pro-Palestinian social media posts about the Gaza war. And the following day, Deadline Hollywood reported that Jenna Ortega would also not be reprising her role as Tara Carpenter due to scheduling conflicts related to Wednesday Season 2. Now, Ortega has come back around more recently and said that it was not necessarily a scheduling conflicts, but she stated in April 2025, the Melissa stuff was happening and it was all kind of falling apart. And if Scream 7 wasn't going to be with that team of directors and those people I fell in love with, then it didn't seem like the right move for me and my career at that time. Flash forward a few months later to March 2024, Neve Campbell announces on her Instagram that she is returning to the role of Sidney Prescott alongside Kevin Williamson, who is most famous for writing, I believe it was 1, 2, and 4, and executive producing several entries of the franchise. They also soon after announced that Courtney Cox was returning as Gail Weathers, along with, I actually won't spoil this, it's in our show notes, but I'm not going to spoil it, along with a series of other legacy characters. All that said, it's a lot of information, but I think this is all context setting up because on this podcast at least, now, I know I had some nits to pick with some of with Melissa Barrera's performance in some areas, and I'm not saying 4 and 5 and 6 were perfect, but in general, the story arc they were on, I think on this podcast at least, Laron, you can remind me if I'm off, we all were pretty into where they were going with it. So when we lost her, it felt like, whoa, where do we even go with this franchise? So Laron, I'll throw it to you first. How has this sort of behind the scenes drama and shakeup really sort of informed how you've thought about it? And, how do you feel about where we landed?
It's really unfortunate because, I felt like when 5 was released, like I had a glowing response to the movie. I did have some gripes, with Melissa Barrera being the lead. I didn't think she was strong enough to be the lead in the first one, uh, new iteration of Scream. And I think that they kind of saddled her with quite a bit to, kind of mine through while we're also just now being introduced to this character. So I don't think it's entirely her fault. I just think there was a lot of meat to that character and a lot of interesting elements that they had never tried in a Scream movie before that they're all trying to juggle all at once. So I was more forgiving of that because I think generally speaking, the new cast I was fine with. And then I felt like with 6, with the exit of Neve Campbell, as devastated as I was that she wasn't going to be there, I felt like 6 had such a big improvement characterization wise with the new characters that they introduced because Neve was not present. They had time to actually focus and kind of give this new generational cast kind of a place to really stand out. And so I felt like she matured significantly in that one, and I was more sold on following this cast into whatever Ghostface shenanigans they were going to get. But so then the hard pivot from that is that we had to already embrace Nev's exit to embrace this new cast, only to then now in Scream 7, as we'll get into, have to revert back to Neve Campbell. So I had mixed emotions about that because one, I'm happy to see Neve back. I'm always going to be happy to see Neve. She is the OG in this space, and I do think that her presence is very valuable in the Scream universe, even if it's not utilized in a prominently featured lead actor way. But I hate that it came at the expense of the narrative that they were kind of teeing up for us, with this new entry. And so you do kind of feel like the connective tissue being ripped away in that regard, because then it's like, do we just disregard what we saw? In essence, are we retconning things now? Are we teetering on the verge of retconning things? Because I would rather not do that. The thing that I think that Scream has always been, one of the strongest horror franchises for is because it was the continuity, the fact that we aren't going all over the place in different time zones. It's the most consistently, linear of everything. And so this felt like, maybe we needed this to incubate a little bit longer. Maybe we needed to go back to the drawing board in that way. And I know, but the success of 6 required another sequel. And so we
The
got
gears of
one.
capital, the gears of capitalism must churn on. We must make more money
Yeah.
off of IP if there's money to be made.
Absolutely, especially while the momentum's hot, especially while this is one of our highest selling IP properties that we currently have that still has juice in it. So, but yeah, contextualizing that with what's happening externally, like, yeah, it's unfortunate because I've grown to love these characters, and while I have my own opinions about the external issues and how it went down, Scream is just so integral to my childhood, my love of this genre. Like, I have more emotional stock in this franchise than most things, so I have those are my reasons for continuing to support the project despite maybe feelings I have outside of that in the world, because I do think there's merit to the people who worked on it outside of that, and the people who, the hardworking cast that are in this. So there are other reasons to support this, for me at least. But it definitely has a lot of holes, if you will, kind of, dings in that regard because of all of that backstage drama. So
Gotta love it when you show up to a new franchise entry with a lot of baggage. I've never been here before. Danny Salim, what did you make of sort of all the behind the scenes drama, and sort of how do you feel about where they landed going into Scream 7?
Yeah, as far as the controversy with Melissa Barrera, I do feel like that was handled a little poorly, a little reactively.
absolutely,
Yeah,
Very reactive.
yeah, which is a bummer. It obviously didn't affect box office numbers, but I do feel like it affects the integrity of the movie and to some degree the entire franchise. Um,
Yeah.
As for the story itself, on one hand, I would have liked to have seen them wrap up the Carpenter trilogy, just for them to like pay off some of the setup, specifically with their mom. They keep mentioning the mom. They do kind of close the book on it a little bit in 6, where they're like, basically they come together as sisters and realize they just need each other, and obviously the mom has her own issues. So I guess you could argue that. But on the other hand, Scream 6, like when I watch it, I think, okay, this technically I could it. I mean, it does, unless they again retcon something or go back to them, which I doubt will happen. It does feel like a chapter, like a story does close with them, like walking off into the sunset, or the sunrise, I guess, at the end of Scream 6. Um, it just left us with a lot of, like what ifs, and it's like hard to not wonder, like, what would have happened if Radio Silence stayed? What would have happened if Chris Landon, didn't leave the project when he did? And we'll never know. And it's sad, but yeah, it's messy, but you know, shit happens. It's like this
Yeah.
franchise has jumped over so many hurdles and has so many cuts and bruises. So the fact that it's still standing, or to quote Demi Lovato, is still alive, is a testament again to just like the love of the fans and just like the fun nature of the franchise.
Yeah.
Endures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The franchise is 30th anniversary. It's a big year. 30 years. It's kind of crazy. Well, Chris, what did you make? What's your take here? Anything you want to add about sort of the behind the scenes drama and sort of how that informed kind of how you were like looking at Scream 7 going into it?
Yeah, I mean, I think these other guys covered a lot of ground, and I agree with most of what you guys said. The only thing I'll go with a little bit more of a positive answer. Like, if Barrera's gone, and everybody has exited the film, I think they did the absolute smartest thing they could possibly do by paying Neve Campbell a salary that she's worth.
$7 million, by the way. Yeah.
$7 million, and
I was
inviting
so
Kevin
curious what the
Williamson.
number was too, until we finally know now what she's worth. She's worth $7 million.
Twice.
She's worth $7 million.
Twice of what Courtney Cox is worth, apparently.
That's true. I mean, but I'm glad to see her back, and to invite Kevin Williamson back and into the director's chair, I think was a very smart and inspired move. Like, if you have to move on with the franchise without everything that we had planned and everybody in charge is gone, I think they did what they should have done which was invite Neve and Williamson back into the room.
So I'm gonna politely disagree with Chris. I think I agree that, especially from a business perspective, what they did was exactly the right move. The new face of the franchise is gone. Let's go back to the Scream Queen, the people who made this a franchise to begin with. Neve Campbell, Kevin Williamson. Disagree is a strong word. I will say it's more of a yes and to what Laron said, and sort of maybe kind of how I look at it, what you were saying a little differently, which is I have a lot of problems with Scream 6. It's actually one of my lesser favorite movies in the franchise. I do like a lot about it. It is still a very good movie. I'll just want to be very clear. I really like it. And the characterization, the core 4 component, I think is by far the strongest part of that movie. And it had me really excited that they'd actually done a legacy sequel or requel or whatever you want to call it. They actually passed the torch. I actually was like, yeah, let's give me more movies with these people. They're a young cast, new faces. The way they look at technology, the way they look at horror films, the way they look at film in general, all of that is new and fresh. And it feels like a fresh set of eyes. And I was really eager to see what they do with it, because in my mind, and you know, we're all millennials here. Like we're not getting younger. And from in my mind, like Scream is always like one that's for like the kids. And what I mean by kids, I mean like teenagers, 20 somethings, people who are kind of like learning about genre filmmaking, learning the ins and outs of Hollywood. You know what I mean? So in my mind, it always felt like a very vibrant, youthful franchise. Now I am a millennial who they made it for. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it needs to get older with, but whenever they announced that the old crew were coming back, I was like, well, I understand exactly why they did it. And I clearly from a financial perspective, it was the right move. No doubts about it. However, there was a part of it that was like, man, it feels like we're just going back to the well with the old guys, you know? And there are very few franchises that have successfully make that torch passing with the legacy sequel, like Creed, for example. It's like if we got Creed, Creed 1, Creed 2 with Michael B. Jordan, all of a sudden Creed 3, oh wait, it's just about Rocky Balboa again, you know? And that's kind of how I felt. Now, that said, I want to pay respect to Neve Campbell because she is the face of the franchise. But to Laron's point, I felt like her absence in 6 provided an opportunity. And I guess I was more excited about where we were going with the new chapter or new era for the franchise rather than looking back.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the shelf life for this movie, for 7, relies on or depends on where they go with the franchise. Because if this was all about nostalgia and it was about, I mean, even going so far, like you said, to bring back even Kevin Williamson into the mix as like in a creative aspect, in a creative way, that's cool. If we go and 8 is about someone else, you know, I know we're not spoiling now. So if it happens to be about someone else and the focus is on that, and we don't have Kevin Williamson directing, we have someone else. It's like another radio silence. Great. I think 7's reputation will be stronger for that, because the thing with all these movies is they are all kind of commenting on things. And if this one's commenting on nostalgia and everything cooked into the DNA of it is nostalgic down to the director and the cast, amazing. I think its reputation will, I don't know, like I think that people's response to it might grow. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's.
But it's so successful that they'll probably want Sidney back. They may even say, "Let's get Kevin Williamson back." So,
oh yeah.
Well, and I want to add one more thing on to my answer. I rewatched Scream 6 recently, and I remember I really liked it when it came out. We talked about how much we all liked it, and I think I agree with you. Melissa Barrera does a lot better in Scream 6 than she does in Scream 5.
Yes.
I like the core 4, everything you guys are saying about that. But when I rewatched it this year, I just found myself not caring as much about these characters as I do for the characters from the original movies. And I don't think it's just nostalgia, even though that's what this movie is commenting on. I think the characters in the original movies were better written. They're more fun to watch. And to Danny's point, even though it wasn't intentional, I think Scream 6 does kind of serve as a book closing, even though that's not really what the plan was. I think it works as an ending for the sisters. I was excited to see where they were going to go with those characters, but because I don't feel as connected to them, that's why I was happy to see Neve back. So.
Sure. All respect. Again, I'm not going to get mad at anyone for saying I like watching Neve Campbell in a Scream movie, but also I'm like, it was the safest, it was the smartest choice from a business perspective, which means it was the safest choice creatively, and yeah.
You don't want to go into one of these movies where it's like, did a boardroom come up with this? Is this
Right,
right? Why does this exist? And you don't want to be cynical, but it's hard not to.
And I'll say to the point, like, yes, I agree with really everybody for different reasons, but I'll say that, like, yes, I was happy that we were going to get another Neve Campbell because I did miss her in the last one. You do feel her absence, even though it helps the new cast be more developed. That said, I'm also a practical person who's going to say Neve is not getting younger. That there's only so many times that we can, you know what I mean? Like, how many relatives does she have that hate her? How many, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to write ourselves into a problem here if the franchise continues with her as the focus. I'm fine with her existing in the universe.
Yeah.
If they move forward and, like, she's there, she's a character maybe they lean on for different things, but I do think at some point the focus has to shift for the franchise's health overall to continue to grow, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
While completely saying shamelessly that I just love seeing her every single time. So it's like I'm of two minds with that, but I also am thinking of it from a creative business standpoint too, where it's like, how long can this go on before we're literally dragging out an 80-year-old woman, Laurie Strode,
Jamie Lee.
like we're gonna do this, Michael. Like, how many times can we do it before it does become a little, like, So that's my thing. It's like, we're not there yet, I don't think necessarily, but we are very close. I would say, like, we probably got one or two more movies with Neve if we get them, and before I'm like, what can we say? What can we do? And I mean that with her, even in a B plot sort of like capacity, but that's just my
I have thoughts. We're gonna save it for the review. I'm gonna save it for the review we're going to. My thought. Just one thing I want to say, Laron, is I too enjoyed seeing Harrison Ford show up as a Force ghost in The Rise of Skywalker, a truly demonstrably awful piece of filmmaking. I still like seeing Harrison Ford, even if it makes no sense in fiction. He's still there, and I do love to see him, and he's great as Han Solo. But you're like, what the hell? Okay. Anyway, not to tip my hand too much. With that said, I think it's time for us to jump into our review of Scream 7. According to IMDb, Scream 7 is described as when a new Ghostface killer emerges in the town where Sidney Prescott has built a new life, her darkest fears are realized as her daughter becomes the next target. As we've already noted, this is the 7th entry in the Scream franchise and celebrates the franchise's 30th anniversary. This film stars Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott, Prescott Evans. Isabel May as Tatum Evans. Courtney Cox is back as Gail Weathers. We get Joel McHale. God, I love Joel McHale. As Mark Evans. We have Jasmine Savoy Brown returning as Mindy Meeks Martin. Mason Gooding as Chad Meeks Martin, along with several new and colorful cast members and a lot of legacy cast members as well. And according to Deadline, Scream 7 roars to a franchise best opening of the year. It's both a franchise best opening and also the biggest weekend of the year so far, with a 64.1 million domestic opening and a 97.2 million opening at the box office worldwide. So guys, we have a hit, the biggest hit the franchise has ever had, which comes right after Scream 6, which was the biggest hit for that at that time. So people want them some more Scream, apparently, I gotta say.
Good to be a Scream fan. It's a good time to be a Scream fan.
Mm-hmm. In addition, it is the best horror movie opening ever for Paramount, besting Paranormal Activity 3's 52.5 million, and it is the best opening ever for a February horror movie ahead of 2001's Hannibal, which made 58 million. So historic opening, and that is in part because this is also the Scream franchise's first time to play in the IMAX, which those premium format screens means premium ticket prices. All right, gentlemen, the time has come. Chris Oz McIntosh, I'm going to start with you. What did you think of Scream 7?
So I think I'm going to be a little bit of the dissenting opinion on this podcast. I liked a lot of this movie. It's flawed, but there's a lot I liked about the film. As we've already talked about, Neve Campbell is back in the role that made her horror famous, and she is as excellent as ever to me. Like, she, some actors come back to these roles time and time again. To your point about Han Solo, and it just, you don't quite feel like Harrison Ford as Han Solo anymore. And she 100% is still Sidney Prescott, and she's really carrying this movie for the first time since Scream 3, I would argue. Like, she's in 4 a lot, but I think she's got more screen time in this one than she's had
Hmm.
since
Hmm.
Scream 3, and she carries the movie. And I get that it was a safe choice to move back to her, but I think the timing just sort of lucks out. It makes sense that she can have a teenage daughter now, so we can, that's a good, easy way to introduce a new teenage hero with her daughter. Um, and we haven't really got to see a mother daughter dynamic in the series before, which is kind of a cool angle that we haven't experienced. Another thing that Scream 6 didn't hold up as well for me was that the humor is not really there in that movie. There are some great set pieces, convenience store, the ladder sequence, Gail's apartment, great set pieces in that movie. Some good characterization, but it's missing some of the dark humor. I don't laugh nearly as much in Scream 6 as I do in the rest of them. And I feel like we've kind of come back to that a little bit in this one. I was definitely laughing in the theater this time more than I have in a while with Scream. Um, in terms of what I didn't like, I know we're going to get into this more in a little bit, but the killer reveals are not great. I like AI as an idea in the story. I think the execution is not amazing, not great. But again, I think considering where we're at, considering Melissa Barrera is gone, Jenna Ortega is gone, the filmmakers are gone, it's a safe bet, like you said, for the box office bringing back this team. But I think all things considered, like I think they did a great job. That doesn't equal a 5-star movie. It doesn't equal an A++ movie. But I think that we are still at a point where the series has not really had a bad film, which, for me anyway, and I think 7 movies in, that's pretty tough to do.
All right. Christos McIntosh starting us off positive. I should also note, I don't know what anyone on this, but Laron knows what I think, but I don't know what he thinks. So this is gonna be I'm really excited to see where we all end up landing. But first, before Laron, I get to you, Danny Salim, what did you think of Scream 7?
So I had the same gut response when I first watched Scream 7 that I had with Scream 4. And it's kind of like the only response that comes with things that I love. It's like it's impossible to not be critical or to have these insane expectations. So I see that as more of a flaw of mine than the material that I'm like having the feeling about. So yeah, like going in and Laron and contest, we texted all the time, like theories. I was texting, I was mentioning all these little text threads I was on earlier. Like it was just, I was submerged in the excitement and
Yeah.
to a fault. And I admit that. And I also anticipate, I'm like, what am I doing? Danny, there's no way you're going to you're setting yourself up for failure because you're seeing different movies in your head. But that's the curse of loving something so much that you can't help but kind of fuel that fire.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. And when I saw it a second time, I enjoyed it even more. And I think that's the great thing about Scream movies is they're incredibly rewatchable, and they usually age really nicely. The funny thing about Scream is so many movies try so hard to be timeless, but Scream movies are at their best when they are very much of a certain time. They
Mhm.
are locked in time.
Yes.
They just get better because this movie's we talked. It's all about nostalgia. That's the great thing about this franchise is it's steeped in nostalgia, whether it's directly referencing it or not. So yeah, that's my gut check response because I'm still sort of like I need to see it again because I'm like washing away the theories and the speculation and I'm letting it exist on its own and it's difficult but I enjoy it. I mean, it's another Scream movie. It sucks because I want to be critical because it's fun to be critical, but I'm so biased, and I'm sure Chris and Laron can, maybe like they understand. I'll always love that there's a new Scream movie, and I love that there's this Scream movie. And even though we'll talk about some things that maybe I wasn't wild about, as we continue this chat, overall it's like, yeah, we're 7 movies in. Are you kidding me? Like, this is so fun. This is so great.
We were never supposed to have a Scream 7.
No,
Like,
do you
we
remember
weren't
when
supposed
4
to be
came
here.
out? No, exactly. When 4 came out,
Yeah.
I lost my damn mind. And never in a million years could you have convinced me that 5 was coming out. When
Right.
that happened,
Yeah.
that was like, oh my, and then to know that Radio Silence was doing it, coming off of Ready or Not, which was just talk about like fresh and exciting, and love it so much. I'm a happy guy.
All right. Well, Danny Saleem also real happy. I guess we'll talk. Feel free to like weigh in with any of those criticisms where it feels appropriate, but we can also do it in the spoiler section. We are going to have a pretty lengthy, in-depth spoiler discussion where we talk about a lot of the reveals and a lot of those good and bad, positive, negative, rather, criticism probably come out there. LeBron Chapman, what did you think of Scream 7?
Okay, so typically, and I would have expected especially me and Danny, immediately after the movie to be like, oh my God, and remember this, and remember that, and this thing happened, and this thing happened. There was silence. We said nothing to each other, I think, until, was it the next morning? Or was it the day
digesting?
After? We were
Even
definitely
conversation,
digesting.
we were digesting.
I had such a visceral reaction to this movie. Like, I mean, I left. Me and Yusuf, and we saw it with a group of people, and you all know my friend Yusuf. I was grieving for a good 20 some odd hours. Like, I don't even know. I can't articulate words. I can't say even truly what I think. I sat with it. I rewatched it again later in the weekend to ensure, like, to really solidify my feelings. And this is how I feel. When you were a kid and like you did something really bad and your parents, they didn't punish you. They just gave you dead silence. It was just disappointment, which felt worse. Worse that you can't even say to me. You can't even say to me what I feel. But then as a parent, you go to sleep, you sleep on it, you wake up the next morning, and your kid, in this case, Scream 7, comes into the room all pouty and apologetic, like, and you take a deep breath, you kiss him on the forehead, and you say, look, I was so disappointed in your choices. But understand something, you are still my child, and I love you regardless, but we're never doing that again. So to sum it up, to put this in actual context, this is my least favorite Scream, hands down. It's just going to be, people hate on 3. I think 3 is a good time. It's not a great, all of them have different kinds of flaws. I think Scream 3 suffers from not being a very good slasher, but being a really good whodunit, still, like, whereas I think, I agree with you about 6. The commentary is a little too light, so it's not really good as a satire, but the deaths are intense and creative. I think I've realized, like, with all the components that make a great Scream movie, being like a good opening, a good cold open, a good killer reveal, some good commentary on whatever's happening in the genre at that particular time. I realize that the aspect of these movies that I love the most, it all goes back to Scooby-Doo, which is what these movies are. They're adult Scooby-Doo movies. Is the whodunit aspect of it. Is I've realized that that's the thing. Some people care about the killer reveal more than me. Some people care about how creative the deaths are. I care about the internal mystery of it all, the red herrings of it. I realize that's the most fun aspect of it for me, and this one fails miserably on that front. But on second watch, um, without collapsing under the weight of my expectations, and I was able to watch the film for what it is, which is just in this case for me a middling kind of generic slasher movie that happens to have a lot of nostalgic qualities to it and characters that I love to see in any capacity, no matter what. Um, it works okay on that level, but as a Scream movie, I think it's the least clever. I think I agree with you about Kevin Williamson. I think the return of him brought back a certain he has a kind of what do you call it, an earnest, a 90s earnestness
Hmm.
that I is not in 5 or 6 that I think is
Mhm.
back here. I think that was nice to see the vibes, I guess, which like this feels like what it felt like in the 90s, that kind of hokey but really cozy kind of feeling that it gives you.
It's
That's still
the Dawson's Creek,
yeah,
Kevin Williamson. Yeah.
that is here. That is here. But I just think they did not thread the needle tight enough with the narrative itself that by the time we do get to the killer reveals, I was having a generally fine time with this movie until we get to the very end climactic moment where you find out what it all is about and where it took a huge nosedive for me and kind of retroactively like unfurled the whole thing for me. So I think when going into it now, knowing what it was going to be, I was able to appreciate moment to moment things that I was liking, where there are components of this that I think are great. Some of the kills are great in this. I loved seeing Neve Campbell, with the mother-daughter dynamic for me was integral to this because you realize Maureen Prescott was always that's kind of the impetus for everything. Like she's always been kind of carrying the burden or the sins of her mother, if you will. Things she never all she did is exist and she's having to carry the weight of her mother's choices. I thought that was an interesting through line into this. And when I heard Sydney was going to be a mom, that was like, okay, now she's kind of in her own way doing the same thing for her daughter, trying to do the best thing for her, but ultimately putting her in harm's way and all of that stuff kind of worked for me. I just wish it was a better whodunit. That's my issue. And I just feel like it fails on that regard. And I don't think we have a lot to say about anything in this. I know he kind of prefaced that this time around. He did say that he was going to be very light on the meta-ness of everything. And I think that there's still things you could talk about. Prequels, spin-offs,
Isn't that like the point of the series though?
It's
Like,
I mean,
that's that's what not to jump into my review too much, but it's like this felt nothing like a Scream. I appreciate Chris and Danny that you guys found a lot to enjoy, but I genuinely was like, there's nothing in this that resembles a Scream movie to me, other than that there are some actors playing characters that I love. And
there's crumbs there. There's like things that they are introducing or hinting at, and they don't commit enough to it in the way that just gives it a little bit more clarity. There's no thesis, or at least it doesn't feel like there's a thesis. All of the Scream movies have one, and this one is like, what?
It feels like the first draft. It feels like the first
Yes.
draft.
Yes,
to be
it
fair,
does.
like it feels like we got the general idea on the page, but let's tighten this. Let's like thread this needle a little bit tighter. Like, what do we want to say about AI? What do we want to say about whatever, like the maternal generational trauma,
motherhood, nostalgia, AI, any of those things. What do you want to say about it? And the movie's like, I don't know.
And what's
literally any of the things that they're even in the movie, I feel like could have been fleshed out better. That's the problem I'm having with it, is that even as a Scream fan, it brings me no joy to say that this is my least favorite Scream movie. But I will say I went from almost hating it to like, okay, it's it's entertaining enough if I'm not thinking about all the things I want from it, if that makes sense. Like it's still I'm still, as Danny said, biased because I'm a Scream fan. I'm gonna find something to like in a Scream movie, no matter what iteration it is. But as someone who holds this franchise to such a higher standard than any other horror franchise, I just felt like it was missing the mark on all the things that make these movies super strong otherwise. And so in that
It was
regard, I
literally
was
missing Mark Kincaid. Another Mark.
It's true.
Missing the Mark Kincaid. Yes.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
true. And I will say, as somebody who liked the movie and had fun at the movie, I don't really think you're wrong about what you're saying.
Yeah. By the way, clever little fun nugget I caught. You guys probably already knew this, but the fact that they never mentioned Mark's last name when they're talking about her husband. So then when they couldn't get Patrick Dempsey back, they just swapped it out for Joel McHale, and it technically works in fiction. So
I'm so glad in 5 that she didn't say his first and last name, because that would have really screwed him up if they had.
Could have done a joke where, like, Sydney, are you only attracted to men named Mark? Like, I don't know,
men named Mark who are also cops.
Yeah, exactly. No, I
think Joel McHale actually did a fine job for what it was.
I mean, he fits in the world.
He's a dumb cop
in the world.
But like I felt like their first scenes together, I was like, I can believe this. I can believe that she likes this guy. I don't know, Caleb.
I was a little butthurt about it, but then I first saw a behind the scenes thing with Joel McHale when he was on set, and I was like, oh, he endeared me. I was like, he actually seems really happy to be here. That's making me happy to see him here. And then I thought his performance was very warm. It felt Dewey-ish in a way, where he's a cop. He's
a dopey cop.
All
that can't
heart.
Do his job well.
He's very sweet. Exactly. But it didn't feel like they were trying to rip it off. It felt like,
and he's not very good at his job. So like, there's that goofy quality to it.
He was genuinely sweet. Like, he and Sidney have really good chemistry in that little bedtime scene earlier when they're just kind of goofing. I was like, this is like so genuine, and I'm loving the characterization here.
Yeah.
Okay, Caleb, I can see you fuming.
You're
just
seething.
Go for it.
Just tell us the truth.
The segue is, I love me Joel McHale. When he got cast, I was like, wow, this is a casting choice that's interesting, and I'm really eager to see, what he brings to the role, because he's very known for a very distinct type of humor and charisma that, frankly, I feel like he's one of those actors or performers who deserves his day. I know he's got Community, but like in terms of like on the big screen, I know he's never going to be like a Tom Cruise leading man, but like he deserves his like role, right? I walked away, I was like, wow, wasted. There's nothing about this character that resembles the things that he brings to any of his best roles. And anyway, I'm glad you guys liked him.
That's funny.
And it's not his fault. It's not his fault.
He got tossed around a lot. He
did.
He's a good fighter.
He body slammed Ghostface many times. But
so fuming's not the right word. I just want to preface this by saying, and I said the same thing to Laron about Wicked Part 2. We live in a crazy world. And sometimes we just need a little comfort and things that bring us happiness. And if Scream 7 brings you all happiness, I'm happy for you. What I am here to tell you is that it not only did not bring me happiness, it felt like a stab to the heart over and over again. After 30 years, this movie was everything I was really worried it was going to be based on all the behind the scenes stuff. This is the first outright dud in the whole saga. It has nothing to say about, we already mentioned it has nothing to say about our culture, Hollywood, horror, anything, technology, none of it has nothing meaningful to say about those. And for me, Laron, much like you, that is a key ingredient. In fact, if everything else in Scream 6 hadn't worked as well as it did, it also would have been the thing I hated about, I would have probably liked Scream 6 a lot less, because similarly, you're like, well, we're kind of like getting at franchises, but there's not really a there, This one, there's not even like no clear thesis whatsoever. And this is going to get me a lot of flack. I think Neve's story is tired. I think that this movie feels like we're playing the hits for her, but also for her daughter, but also for her. And rewatching the series and lead up to this, I really admired where they left her with 5. And even though I know that the design was to have her in 6 and she couldn't make it, I was like, in terms of her like arc about trauma and how it has shaped her life and how she has come to live with it as a survivor, I really thought that was a powerful, amazing place to leave the character, and it felt complete. So for us to bring the motherhood angle in, I'm like, there is a there, but unfortunately for me, the movie just really doesn't do anything meaningful with it. We get a couple of really heartfelt scenes, but I didn't think it was enough to sort of support a thesis for the movie, because again, there's not a thesis for the movie. So I hate to say it, guys. This is a film about the old guys. I really wanted one more about like next generation. And I'm really happy. Neve Campbell is very good. I will say she is very, very good. In fact, I think she's way better than the script offers her. And so her performance is the best thing in the movie by like a lot. So I want to give credit where it's due. I just feel like with this character, it's like Laron, like you were saying earlier. I don't know how much more we have left to say with her and Gale Weathers that hasn't been said multiple times in previous movies. And I guess if the idea is, oh, look, we're recycling beats and tropes from previous movies and it's our criticism of nostalgia, well, where's the criticism? It just feels like nostalgia, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry if I did not. I just want to go back to saying, if this movie brings you joy, do not let me rain on your parade. That is not what I'm saying. I wanted this to be good so bad. I love Scream, and I hope whatever they do for 8, which is inevitably coming, I hope it's something really good and interesting, and I hope they take their time to really reflect, and we can get back to that whodunit commentary, because the whodunit, the who did it and why is literally the defining component of what these movies are about. And this one just didn't have it. I also didn't think it was funny, and I didn't think it was scary. There was a couple of chase sequences that I thought were really, really good that were all ruined in the trailers. And that's not the movie's fault. That's the marketing's fault. But
for sure.
The best parts that I liked the most, I had already seen mostly play out in the promo materials.
That's true. And the last thing I'll say is I also think, to your point with the marketing, like, I think we were very deceived by this marketing. There's a lot of things that didn't happen. We never hear Ghostface say, "I'm going to burn it all down," which was definitely like something that was a
like
thing.
The thesis. That felt like that was supposed to be the thesis.
It was one of the posters. It says on the poster, like, "burn it all down" on one of them. You know, like, so I was like, that never comes into play. I also felt like we have an egregious lack of Roger L. Jackson's, which is another hallmark of this. Like his menacing cat and mouse, like the voice work in that is also like a huge component of this. It's cheapened for a different reason that we'll get into later. And I also felt like, I wish that there were things that you could say again, even with the things that they kind of tease at here. But it does feel like the whole marketing of it all is leading to this. And then when you put that in context with what happened, you're like, that, like that, it doesn't.
Hey, listeners, I'm just going to let you know, if in the promo materials, the tagline is something like, "it's all been leading to this," let me tell you, that is a signifier that the franchise is in major trouble. And I'm not even joking. There's so many franchises where I've seen that tagline, the movie ends up being very bad.
Because I could have went into this cold, and maybe I wouldn't have felt as strongly. But it's because they were building a narrative, a false setup with the narrative, with the breadcrumbs leading to something, and then it just doesn't equate or amount to any of the things that they kind of teased were going to happen. So.
Okay, Chris.
And to your point about going in cold, I basically went in cold.
Interesting.
I saw the trailer once, like when it first came out, and otherwise it was like closing my eyes, shutting my ears, leaving the theater, like exiting out of the pop-up, whatever it was. So maybe that informed my experience too, because I basically did go in cold.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole like burn it all down, like I was like, oh, it's gonna be like a commentary on the commodification of, real life crimes, and maybe the killer is which is funny because it is. Well, okay, we're not in the spoilers.
Yeah, we're not in spoilers yet. Yeah, not yet.
There's something they could have connected there, and I don't want to be a victim to my own. Yeah, it's just I'm like, darn it, it was right there. All you needed was just to thread that, and it could have worked. But
and that's probably what it is we saw the things they could have done with this. So it's not like, this misses the mark. It's like, but the things were there. You just didn't do the thing. You didn't connect the thing to the thing. You just did
You told
this.
us it was coming.
You told
it's not
us
like
it
we
was
made it
coming.
up. Yeah.
So that's what's strange is it just feels like, it's hits the generic Scream beats, and like there are things that happen in every Scream movie. It's just less satisfying at each turn of those things than it was in other entries for me.
Well, and Laron, we and I listened back to our Scream 6 review, and we talked about this too. It's like, well, where do they go with this next, right? And I think that one of the things that we brought up was like, well, at this point, the Scream franchise has become its own formula. There's tropes. We all know that there's going to be a call or something at the beginning. It's going to be a cold open. It'll slash. We know that the movies have been telling us this for a while. We know it. So I remember the idea was like, well, one way you could do it is if the Scream franchise is like deconstructing itself and ask, what's the point of even making a Scream movie anymore if we've gotten so meta? And the whole burn it all down kind of made me think, I think that seems like where they might be going. And at 7 entries, bringing back Neve Campbell, that seems like the place to go. And yeah, they just didn't do it. Last stray thought, weakest. I can't believe I'm saying this because I thought Scream 3's opening was pretty bad. My money, weakest opening by like.
Oh, really?
I didn't like it. It just, there was nothing to it. Like I liked that it was back at the house. I like the whole. I guess I like the premise of like, they've turned Stu's house into this like murder Airbnb experience. That's kind of neat. But like pretty much everything it was very predictable. Oh, look, it's a statue. Oh, they're going to swap it out. Like, and again, I think the other thing, it's a small, subtle thing, is oftentimes, I think most of the films, there's very subtle nods at what the movie's going to be about that they plant in the conversation with the Ghostface in the opening. And because there wasn't a thing, I was like, so what was the point? What was the point of that?
That's what's frustrating.
That was the part that was frustrating. I think I disagree with it being the weakest opening, but I do agree that it feels inconsequential in the larger scheme of things, because like we don't really call back to that in a way that seems like, or I don't know if we even do. Maybe it's referenced passively. I don't remember now, but I think that the general setup of it was fine. I thought it was a suspenseful set piece and kind of cool. But when I'm thinking about it in context of the entire movie, I'm like, well, what was that about then? Normally the opening is like, it goes right into baked into the DNA of the preceding events.
Yes, the big question.
Yes, and then it's like, you're talking about the thesis for the movie, and then we go into it and we explore it, and we didn't do that. It just feels like
there's a way, when we get to the spoiler part, I think there's a way to argue like how it did connect, but I think because there were so many issues with how they laid out the reveal,
it's poorly explained.
Of the motive, it's like, just again, I mean, I'm beating a dead horse, just like another pass on the script. Just tighten it up.
Yeah, it's like you said, Laron, just not threading the needle quite tight enough. The pieces are there to connect, and they're just not quite connected enough.
And that could have been because they rushed it. It could have very well been because we had to pivot hard and we had to write a script real quickly and get it out in a year's time and do all the things that this is what they came up with this is what they cobbled together in that time frame. And that's why it feels like certain things are there, but they're not quite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not
ideas,
connecting,
but
they're not connecting. And I think that's a product of being rushed. Yeah, for sure.
So it takes my final thought. We'll get to letter grades and then do our series ranking. Laron, I texted you this. Also, funny enough, Laron, and the text that I have with him and Brock Lay, me and Brock were dropping some comments. It took Laron a full at least a day and a half. It took you a while to say anything. And I was like, either he is head over heels for this movie, or he's mourning. He is mourning his disappointment.
He is mourning. I was mourning. I was in mourning. I was like, I can't even like joke about this right now. This is like so devastating to me. I don't feel that same way now, but I do have a lot of problems with this one for sure.
It reminds me, so in that text that I said, the movie I've been thinking about a lot, and I've already tipped my hand here, it is Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. In that, it's a movie that there was a totally different script, totally different idea for a third one, had been long in the works. Tons of behind the scenes drama happened. They had to rush this movie out. It felt like cobbled together by like studio executives who were just like, we got to get this out by a deadline. Still made tons of money. And as I was watching that movie, it was a very similar experience for me in this movie, where I'm like, it barely feels like a movie. It feels like a list of ideas that we are very loosely stringing together. and I just don't know what I'm supposed to care about. And now I don't hate this movie as much as I hate that movie, but I just on like the way I processed, my experience with that movie was the same. I went back and saw it a second time 2 days later, the same as you, because I was like, there's no way it was that bad. Maybe I just was let down, and it was that bad. And I kind of haven't seen Scream 7 again yet, but it's definitely one of those. I'm like, I think it's the worst one. It's definitely the worst one. I think it's a bad movie. We'll find out whenever I eventually get back to it, but I'm in no rush. Myself.
Caleb, what's so funny is they could have commented on that specifically about it kind of being cobbled together. Like, imagine if that was the commentary.
Yeah.
Like, having a self-awareness of like, we know this is kind of a crazy turnaround. Like, the
What do
audience
you do
knows,
when you have to
everyone
rush a
knows.
script? Exactly.
Let's comment on it. Like, Mindy could be like, oh my God, what does this even mean? And they could just like have this meta commentary. Like, this is kind of
this doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make sense. I don't get it.
And
an
that in
executive.
itself is and like that.
What do those murders in Woodsboro even mean?
Yeah.
Like, they don't even connect to Sidney. This is so stupid. Like, what?
Yes.
I mean, we could have done
Just
something.
say it. Like, it's okay in Scream. You can spell it out. I don't care much for subtlety in these movies. So just say it.
No, for sure.
I keep saying last thought. We'll get to more in spoilers. All the legacy characters outside of Courtney Cox and Neve Campbell completely wasted and borderline offensive, but we'll get to it. Letter grades for Scream 7. We'll go and back around. Laron, starting with you.
The night of the movie, it was a D minus. Like I couldn't go as far to go as an F, but I think just the weight of my expectations for sure. That's where it was with where I wanted to go and where it didn't.
And then it came in before class for some bonus points.
For some bonus points, right? Exactly. This feels like a stab movie, guys. This feels like an in-universe stab movie. That's what it is for me.
Yes.
And
it became the thing it used to make fun of.
It feels like one of those things. But that being said, I mean, again, on rewatch, I have risen pretty far into. I'm going to give this a C plus.
Whoa!
And that is from a D minus. So I did go up pretty far, but I will say that it is still dead last. It is going to, on rewatches, when I do this every Halloween, this is going to be the one that I'm going to have to like grit my teeth through. But it's still a Scream movie, and I'm still a toxic fan. So,
is it a Scream? Is it a Scream movie? Okay, well, you know,
Caleb, I love your energy in this episode. It's so good.
I'm usually Mr. Positive on everything, but this I'm just like the gloves are off for some reason. Danny, what letter grade would you give the film?
I was back and forth. I mean, everything everyone's saying. I especially like Laron, your sentiment about the gut reaction, and then I do find myself trying, and maybe it's just the Scream fanatic survivalist in me. Like, I just want to look at the positives. It is there. I think there is something toxic in that, maybe because I'm like, I can't hate it, and I don't want to hate it. So that's also fueling it. But I did I've picked up on things on a second watch that I was like, oh, I actually really like this, or like, I think this character is fantastic in this franchise, etc. So I was teetering back and forth between. I'm going to give it a B minus.
Oh, right. That's very some restraint. I like that. Some honesty. Well, that's respectful. Chris Oz McIntosh, what letter grade would you give the film?
I'm with Danny on this. I mean, I'm with all of you guys on this. You're not wrong about the criticisms, but I love these movies, and I had a great time at the theater, so it gets a solid B from me.
All right. That's all that matters, really. Did you have a good time? I
Right.
mean, sure, hopefully it's got rewatchable, but at least you can say I had a good time watching the movie, and it sounds like you'd watch it again, yeah?
Absolutely. I want to see it a second time.
Oh,
There we go.
I want to go tonight.
I'll say it was at least, I was at least able to be entertained by it on the second one.
I feel hurt by this movie, so it's going to be a D minus. I won't give it an F. And maybe a D for two reasons. I'll give it one. You bump me a half a point because there's two reasons. I really like a couple of the action scenes, chase scenes. I don't think any of them are as good as what we got in 5 or 6. 6 specifically, but there's a couple really solid ones in there, even if the trailers ruin them. So half point for that. And then a half point for Neve Campbell really showing up. I think she clearly understood that if she was going to play that I'm not getting paid my worth game, that she had to really show up for this one if she was going to get that payday. And I think given what she was working with, I think she did a really great job. So D down the middle. D for disappointment.
Damn right.
As somebody who is like deep in the bowels of the Woodsboro Facebook, account for all the people, the Scream fans, all the international, some from Berlin, some from all kinds of crazy places. The rankings for Scream 7 are utter chaos. Like, I am astonished by the way.
I love it.
There's a contingent of people who outright hate this and say this is probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And this is coming from someone who loved Scream from day one. I don't agree with that. But
it's not that bad.
It's not that bad. There are things in it that are good, that are passable. But I feel like, but for sure, there are people who also in that same group, I have seen this as their second favorite. I have seen this like above. I'm like, I can't.
Spider-Man 3 was my favorite Spider-Man movie after I saw it too, Laron. You think I'm joking? I'm not. I convinced myself that it was that good because I loved it so much.
It's like my brain is melting, but you know what?
I love that.
I'm not gonna yuck their yum. Whatever. That's what they.
Spider-Man 3 is no longer my favorite, by the way, but I do still like it. But it's definitely not the best one.
You don't have to lie to us, Caleb. This is a safe space.
Yeah, Emo Parker. Speaking of emo things, let's get to rankings, Laron. You said it. Rankings are all over the place. And I got to know how Chris Oz McIntosh ranks the Scream movies now that we have Scream 7. Chris, what you got?
I hope you guys still invite me back to the podcast with where I've got this movie ranked. So should I go best?
Yeah,
is it best to worst or worst to best?
Great question. Let's go ahead and rank it from best to worst. Okay.
So for me, there's no question the original Scream is the best movie. It's a perfect movie for my money. Scream 2 comes really close to that. So Scream 2 is next. Scream 3, as we've discussed, has appreciated for me over the years. So I'm going to put Scream 3 at number 3. I think there's a lot. It's a fun movie. The presence of Hollywood in the movie just really works for me. The next 3 are very neck and neck, and I think would change on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to say next is Scream 4 for Wes Craven's presence, the original cast's presence with the newcomers. I'm going to say next today, I'm going to say Scream 7 next, which I know is going to be a hot take amongst a couple of you, at least. But I just find myself caring more about the characters in this movie than I did in Scream 5 and 6. Even if those are great characters, even if some of the performances are great, one or two of them are lacking, as we've kind of touched on. Even though the movie does not comment on as much, you guys are totally right on your criticisms. I care a lot more about these characters, maybe because of Neve Campbell's presence. I think Isabel May does a great job as the daughter. Is that nostalgia? Is that tied to my love of the series? Maybe so, but if we're 7 movies in, does that matter? Like maybe that's part of what you're dealing with when you have a 7th movie in a franchise.
Yeah.
Then I would say Scream 5, and then at the bottom for me is Scream 6. Great kills in the movie, some really memorable kills in the movie, actually. Great set pieces, but the humor isn't there, and I just don't care as much about the characters in Scream 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 5, 6 today.
All right.
Okay. That's good.
Here we go. He's a fan of the classics. Chris, great ranking there. Danny, I'll throw it to you next. What is your ranking of the Scream franchise from best to worst?
From best, so 1 is also at my top, but it's like right. 2 is they're holding hands and they're on a staircase, and 1 is just like one step over, but they may as well be one entity. I go back and forth. Laron and I have talked about this before off mic about how what Scream 1 does so perfectly, Scream 2 does equally perfectly, and there's so many things about part 2 that I love, but 1 just has this soft spot in my heart. You mentioned, Laron, earlier about Scooby-Doo. Like most horror movie fans, at least I'm guessing, grew up loving Scooby-Doo as kids, and Scream was like my first grown-up evolution of what Scooby-Doo was. So as a kid, when I got a chance to see it, I was like, whoa, I am obsessed with whatever this is. I want to stay on this train for the rest of my life. Just whodunits, having a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's the mystery element,
Yeah.
and then fun characters. That's what they
By
are.
the way, I know this is an audio medium, but I just bought this.
Oh no, you're on video, friend. You're on video.
Perfect.
We can see it.
Oh, that's right. So you can see this. So I have this Scooby-Doo inspired NECA toy from Ghostface, and I am obsessed with it.
Incredible.
Yeah, I love I have a lot of toys. You can't see them all, but yeah, they're there.
Yeah.
So yeah, 1 and 2. So 1, 2, and then I'll go with 5. 5 Cream. I love this movie. I had a great experience too, just in watching it. Like we were talking about how, yeah, it was rare to get 4, but I never in a million years thought we would ever get a 5. And like the care that went into making that movie, like that movie, every time I watch it, it's just better and better. I said somewhere recently how the use of Red Right Hand, the Nick Cave song, best use of it in the entire franchise. Maybe it's a hot take, I don't know. Holy shit. The way they shoot Ghostface, just in terms of like camera, it is like, this is
very menacing. Yeah.
A horror deity. Like, and we are going to showcase that with all the expertise that we have behind the camera, and they do it expertly. It's the best Roger L. Jackson performance as Ghostface, in my opinion. He is doing things. Like the opening scene is kind of a simple scene it's just a phone call. It feels very reminiscent of 1. But the fact that he like does a voice that then you can hear it becoming the Ghostface voice.
Yes.
Gives me fucking chills. It is so good. And his delivery of just specific lines, like specifically the Judy Hicks sequence, which is one of my favorite. That conversation is a masterclass in how to build suspense with just talking.
Just the voice.
Yeah, just the voice.
That's
from
a good
there,
call.
yeah, I love that movie so much. I also did a huge road trip up. I live in San Francisco, and just like an hour north is Santa Rosa, where they shot the original Scream. So I went to Stu's house. I saw Casey Becker's house. I have this wonderful memory attached.
Did you stay there overnight at an Airbnb?
No, I actually wasn't supposed. There's all these signs, and they say, "Do not come up. This private property." And usually I play by the rules, but I was with a friend of mine who flew out from the East Coast, and I was like, we're doing it. Let's go up. So we drove up it's a huge hill going up to the house, and there were some gardeners there. And I was like, hey, we're thinking about having a wedding here. Is it okay if I just like drive around? And they're like, oh yeah, go for it. Cause we Googled it, and apparently they do it's a wedding venue.
Nice. Well played.
When we got up there were a bunch of Scream fans wearing all the Scream stuff. Later found out that they were doing tours and that you have to like pay for it. And they were kind of giving us dirty looks. And I almost drove into like this flower bed in front of the house, in front of Stumacher's house. And I came this close. I was like, oh my God, I almost like cemented my legacy in Scream, like
that's great.
Through destruction. So yeah, 5. And then I would go with 3. I think, to Chris, to your point, like Scream has just aged very well, even though it is so silly and goofy, and there are so many things about it I could rip apart. The thing with Scream 3 that I love is, yes, it is a commentary on trilogies, but I actually think, whether it did this knowingly or not, it's a commentary on B movies. They really drive that point home. And once you go into it as like, this is the Scream movie that's about B movies, you have Roger Corman, you have, the whole thing with Maureen Prescott doing B movies. You have the ridiculous reveals. You have the voice changer that is so stupid. Like, it's with technology that just doesn't exist. But when it's like, oh no, it's like we're playing with B movie tropes, like the silliness. I'm in. Sold. Love it. Love it. The tone, everything. Jennifer Jolie, her character, it all fits. Then from there, 4, I would go next. I love it. It actually kind of soured is a bad word, but like it kind of soured a little bit for me over time. Where I really loved it, and now I'm like, okay. A lot of it has to do with I think some of the cinematography kind of takes me out of it a bit.
Yeah, me too.
The
Yeah.
lighting is just so distracting. It's like crazy.
It feels
Mhm.
sitcom-y. Yeah, it's too colorful.
Yeah,
It's too bright.
100%. Gail though is fantastic in that movie. She has some great lines. And then I do just want to say, like, I love all these movies. So for the ones that are lower, I love them. This is where I have a little bit of I may be changing my ranking in real time. I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna kick myself for this. I'm gonna go with 7. Not in my last spot, because the more I think about it, and we'll discuss it in like the spoilery part, but like there actually are things that I kind of love about it, and I can see myself actually grasping onto even more down the road. And then I'll go with 6 in the last spot. Again, love all these movies. Not a huge fan of the reveal at the end. Very disappointed by that. There's a lot of promise. Like the idea of the shrine is so cool, and the execution of it is so embarrassing. Like I'm like, guys, come on. You can't go that far into something so unbelievable as in terms of like getting every piece of real life evidence from crime scenes only to say like, oh, we just bought off cops. I'm like, oh, that's it? Really? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. So 1, 2, 5, 3, 4, 7, 6.
All right. Love it. Some diversity of rankings here. I'm excited to see it. Laron Chapman.
It's chaos.
I must know. I've been waiting. This is the moment I'm waiting for more than anything else in this discussion. What is your new ranking for the Scream films?
Okay, so I agree with Danny. 1 and 2, man, 2 is the one I revisit the most because I just have so much fun with the set pieces in it. But objectively, I think the first one is the best. I will say that. So I'll just say I like what you said, Danny. They're holding hands. That's a good way to put it. But I have more fun with 2, but I think 1 is the blueprint, so I have to give it the edge there. So 1, 2. I also love 5. Honestly, I think 5 is what I wanted this to be. And I think that in terms of like, it's interesting because Kevin Williamson did 7. And I thought surely, well, he's going to find the right alchemy of all these things to work and fall into place. Whereas I think what I was afraid 5 was going to be when I heard that Wes Craven's he's deceased and we're getting radio silence. And I'm like, what are they going to do with this? I love Scream too much. Who are these new guys? What do they know about Scream? Are they not real fans? They're going to ruin everything. And then they made a good movie. They made a decent movie. And actually, I felt like I liked the motive in that one quite a bit. Actually,
They made a movie about being fans. Really,
Love
fans.
the motive.
And it worked.
Right.
I felt like it worked. They added they took a couple of swings with the Billy thing, which some people hate, but I think it's like, well, that's different. But hey, you took a swing. It kind of works, whatever. If it like psychologically. So 5. 6 used to be higher, but I agree with you on revisits. It's lowered, but it's still middle of the pack for me for the kills, the set pieces. I like the New York setting. I just think that's fun. Like I just like that we went somewhere different. Then it's 3 for me. I like 3 quite a bit it's the one I laugh the most at, to be honest with you. Like I don't think it's a good slasher movie, but I think it's a good comedy. And it has characters in it that I like. And I actually think it has the best motive of the entire franchise, to be honest with you. I think Roman is I'm not saying he's the best Ghostface, but I think his motive is my favorite in terms of what it means for Sidney Prescott's arc is so important. That's why when people dismiss 3, I'm always like, it's so important to who Sidney is, though. The Maureen Prescott stuff is so integral to who she is, and the way they kind of flesh that out with this character, I think that's the strongest motive in the whole thing, in terms of that, especially for the characterization for her. 4 is something I loved a lot at the time. It was my least favorite, mainly because I do feel like the ratio of comedy and horror is imbalanced in it. And where I think that 1 and 2 do really good at having the right ratio of those two things, like working in tandem with each other. The alchemy, it's just off a little bit. I think it's way too much on the corny, funny side. where like that line where Anthony Anderson gets stabbed in the head and like fuck Bruce. I'm sorry, I don't think that's funny. I
Great
was like,
scene until he says
What do you?
that. I think.
Oh, you guys are crazy. That was a great scene.
It's like you deflated this moment for me. It was just like I can't. Like now it does feel like a stab movie again. Like I'm like, it's too cheesy. It's too cheesy, you know. But I do love Kirby. I love the introduction of Kirby. She's a great character. I love I liked Judy Hicks even. I thought she's a funny character. And I also think the third act in that is strong. I actually think the Jill, is it what's the last name? Jill Roberts. I think she's a great. I think she had a great millennial, like that era. It speaks to that moment what people was going on. So I felt like her motive was strong. So where I a lot of people with the opening of that, the movie within a movie within a movie, I think that works really well the first few times, but it has no emotional connection, and that's what I always loved about the other ones. It's like you care about Drew Barrymore in the opening scene. You know, like you're like, I don't want her to die. You're tense with that. You know, with that one, it's like, tell me who the two people that died are. You don't know because we don't care. You know what I mean? It was a gimmick that was just kind of fun for the time. But I think on rewatch, as openings go, I'm left feeling like they barely reference them in the next day and then we move on. It's like, whereas I feel like the opening kill needs to be someone that is integral to the trauma that's happening in this space and everyone dealing with that, you know? And then, yeah, so where am I at? And then Dead Last is 7, and I think it's going to stay there, but I at least don't hate it like I did when I saw it the first time. So
go ahead and do a full relisting there from best to worst.
1, 2, 5, 6, 3, 4, 7.
All right. Great list. Such diversity of opinion here because
Yeah,
mine is
like
not
that
like
list.
any of your lists. This is great. And I think this just speaks to there are varying degrees of quality across the Scream things, but I think all of them, they all have different strengths and different weaknesses. And there's like a little mix, but they all feel like Scream movies except for 7. So like we can all kind of latch on to the different things that work the most for us. So I love it. Of course, I think we're all on the same page though. Number one's The Blueprint. And I actually agree. I think Chris, you said it. There's a short list of films that I would qualify as perfect movies. And when I say perfect, I don't mean like technically there's nothing wrong with it. I'm saying like there's nothing you could add or detract that would enhance it. It would only make it lesser. Things like Jurassic Park, the original, Terminator 2, things like that. There's very few movies that hit that echelon. And I think Scream is among them. So Scream 1. And man, I didn't realize it's such a controversial opinion. I really like Scream 4 a lot. I think the opening is great, very memorable, very fun, playful. And I think this is what I'm talking about with like the whodunit reveal meaning something. I think her motivations are not only speaking to that moment, they were in a lot of ways prophetic of the direction that social media would take us in. And it was really,
True.
in a lot of ways, you're like, this is a huge warning sign. He's like, no, addiction to fame via social media and making yourself a victim in order to achieve fame. Bad acting. What I mean by that is pretending to be someone you're not or feeling a certain way you're not just so that social media will give you a win. Like all those things were in that movie. And I still think they're problems that we're dealing with today. And I was like fingers on the pulse with number 4. And I don't know, the hokey comedy worked for me. I do hear what you're saying with the lighting. The movie is lit very strangely. I have to admit, it doesn't look like anything like the other movie.
It's a choice. It's a creative choice. I just don't know it works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, the things that it does well works so well for me that I'm like, and also not only the actual move, the execution of like, oh, Jill turns on, is it Charlie? The other guy, Culkin Kid. And then like literally like runs herself into a wall and then she goes to the hospital, all that.
Yeah.
So
it's great.
Good.
It's a great third act.
It's
a great third act.
We could do a whole, if you ever want to do a bonus episode on ranking the Ghostface
just
motives
the openings
and the opening scenes. And like, I could come on and because everything you're saying about 4 is like, like the motives. Oh my God, the commentary is fantastic.
It's great. It's like I think like it's among the strongest in terms of like the actual like having a thesis and like really executing it well. And then I go to 5 actually for a similar reason. Not only did 5 have to overcome all of these questions about can someone else make a Scream movie? I don't know. Maybe they should just let it go. We don't have Wes anymore. Williamson's not on board, at least as a writer. I just don't think this. Let it be dead. And then they came out and made a movie that similarly had its fingers on the pulse of that moment, talking about toxic fandoms. And I'm not talking about, you guys keep calling yourself toxic fans on this. You're not toxic fans. Don't joke. You guys are pure fans that I like spending time with.
Like, no,
yeah. The toxic fans would be like, we gotta kill that Caleb guy. He hated the movie. You know,
we're already plotting your death.
Oh,
we're just letting you give your closing monologue before we do it.
But I just thought it was such a clever commentary on a thing that was very much in the moment, in the pop culture zeitgeist in social media at the moment. We're still dealing with it today in different ways than we were in that moment, but it really holds up in that way. And then I go to 2. Here's the thing. I love 2 also. Like, I'm with you guys on everything. I think the set pieces are great. I love the college setting. The opening's fantastic. So it's not that I like 2 like much less than the others. It's mostly just like in terms of the ones I turn on to rewatch, I tend to rewatch it less. Now, that said, and Laron's heard me say this a couple of times, whenever you get to the Ghostface killer reveal and you've got Timothy Oliphant just going ham, that is probably my favorite going ham Ghostface. Like him and Matthew Lillard are neck and neck in terms of just actors who are going for it. His motive, again, feels very of that time, which is, get famous via a court trial like that. All that stuff is chef's kiss. And I want to give, it sounds like I like 2 less, but it's more that like 4, 5, and 2 are all really damn close.
Yeah.
And then there's a pretty big drop off to 6. Now, 6 I still like. I still like a lot. I think it's a good movie. Chase sequence, all the things you guys said. Chases are good. The last act delivery drops the ball pretty big time. And I even said this a couple of years ago. Like I thought it risked ruining the movie. Had all those other things I loved about it not worked so well for me, that would have been a deal breaker. Because it's pretty much the weakest commentary until we get to 7. And then after 6, we go to number 3. Rewatched it recently. I do like it. It's fun. It's I do, to your point, Laron, about sort of the trilogy commentary, specifically with Sidney's character. I think that stuff works really well. There's a cool dream sequence in it that I like quite a bit.
A lot of people hate that, and I love that. I love it. No, a lot of people hate.
You sneak in Supernatural without.
I was like, that's the Wes Craven I know. That's the Nightmare on Elm Street Wes Craven coming in like I'm gonna mix some things together.
Which is crazy because like the trauma is what haunts her, and it's nice to see. You have to get reminded of that in visceral ways throughout the series, and I thought that was a really powerful way to do it, especially by number 3. And then in Dead Last, and then there's a huge drop off from there, like massive drop off from there, and then we get to Scream 7. So by ranking, to rank them, Caleb's official ranking: Scream 1, 4, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7.
I do love this diversity, though. It is pretty.
This
cool.
is the Facebook comments, Laron.
You will never find. I'm saying that's the thing is even people who love these franchises, like you will never find 2 people with the exact same ranking if they don't change next week or something. But that just shows you the strength of it. I feel in general, the overall strength of the franchise is that there are things to love and there are weaknesses in some of all of them too. But I also think that those weaknesses are for each person are different. It's just preferential. It's like, do you care about this more or this more? And that changes with each person. So,
and it changes the same way we change as humans. It changes over time.
Yeah.
Okay, really quickly. So because we are running long, surprising no one. What a twist. If we could very quickly in like 1 to 2 sentences give our alternate media recommendations. So if folks are interested in Scream 7 or even the Scream franchise, what is another thing you would recommend either to go alongside Scream 7 or instead of Scream 7? And I'll throw it back to you, Chris.
So I actually said this as one of my recs in the Scream 6 review, but it even fits better now than it did back then. So I'm going to throw out the only other movie Kevin Williamson ever directed, Teaching Mrs. Tingle, which is a dark comedy thriller, not really a horror movie, but it was made in the 90s, very much got that Dawson's Creek warmth to it, and lots of tense situations and a pretty young cast, and it's a lot of fun, and I think it goes well with Scream 7 just because Williamson is directed exactly twice, and it's Scream 7 and Teaching Mrs. Tingle.
It's crazy. It's going to be one of the biggest gaps between like director gigs. I mean, I know he's done a ton of TV, he's done directing there, but that's a huge gap between films.
I don't think he's even directed in TV. I think writing, showrunner. I don't know.
Writing, producer. Yeah.
I don't know that he directed for television though.
Okay, I might be wrong. I know he's worked on TV a lot, though. Obviously,
Yeah.
Dawson's Creek. He did that one show, but the one I always think about was the cult show about Edgar Allan Poe.
The
Anyway,
following.
yes, which I liked, Kevin Bacon. Okay, anyway, off track. Danny, what alternate media recommendations would you have for folks who are interested in Scream 7?
Well, I think I've been playing a lot of video games lately. I think one fun like whodunit mystery that also includes everyone's favorite David Arquette is the game The Quarry.
Yes.
Very fun game. Different. You get a different version depending on your choices that you make. Also, lately, just to stick with the game thing, last night for the first time, I finally played the board game Betrayal at the House on the Hill, which is technically there is some like mystery solving involved, but really recommend it to any and all horror fans. It's basically a haunted house game, but it plays with all of the classic horror tropes. Big recommend.
Very nice. We don't get board game recommendations very often. Very underrated media, by the way. Listeners, get a board game, especially with some friends you love. Murder mystery. Sounds like a good time. Laron Chapman, what would you recommend?
Okay, well, you stole my The Quarry. I'd never done a game before, so it's okay though. And then
Laron and I are the same person. We
literally we share a hive mind. Chris, very deep cut with Teaching Mrs. Tingle. I've watched that so many times, but I hardly recommend it to people because they always tell me like, "What the hell is this?" But I'm like, it's excellence, and you don't get it.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm gonna say for me, then going just completely off of the cuff here. Then I'm gonna go with The Faculty. This is something that is one again a definitively like probably B movie of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but just a good hokey cheesy 90s good time. So that or Urban Legend, the original, not Final Cut, even though I defend that sometimes in smaller corners too.
And The Faculty was written by Williamson, right?
Yeah, well, yes, that's probably why he understands. He understands me. He knows that again, that earnest 90s cheese that just makes you. It's like Cheese Whiz. It's terrible for you, but man, it's just so fun. It's
so
like
good.
Put it on everything.
I am overdue for a rewatch of The Faculty, so thank you for that reminder that it's been a while because I do freaking love that movie.
It holds up.
Yeah. Oh, does it? Yes.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
Gotta get a 4K of that or something. Yeah. All right. I'm going in a totally different direction because I hated this movie. And what I'm saying, listeners, is don't give this movie your money. It already has all the money it needs to be a success. And I'm going to give you another movie recommendation for a film that is playing in theaters that like not enough people are seeing. And it's a comedy and it has things to say about nostalgia, especially for millennials, more specifically 2008. And I am talking about Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. One of the funniest things I have seen in a long time. No, it has no relation to this franchise or genre at all. I don't care. I don't have a podcast to talk about it for an hour. This is the funniest movie I have seen in years with a crowd. Knew nothing about the web series it was based on. And the hardest I have laughed in a movie in years. And while there's not a lot meaningful to be said about nostalgia, there is a lot of riffing on how nostalgia shapes sort of our worldview. So
interesting.
Again, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. Nothing to do with the actual band Nirvana, by the way. It's a Canadian production from the director who did the Blackberry movie a couple years ago, which is also another very underrated gem. Please go see it in the theater. It needs your money. It's also fantastic. And I don't recommend comedies very often these days, so check it out.
All right.
All right. Well, I think it's about time to get to. Hey. Guess who's calling? I think Brock wants to weigh in. I guess he heard that we were recording. I'm gonna find out why he was late. Yeah, Brock, what's up?
Oh man, I was prepping for the Scream review, Scream 7, and I got a call from Ghostface, and he attacked me.
No shit. Are you okay?
Oh yeah, man. He listened to our retrospect review on Scream 2, and he didn't like how I was talking shit on Billy's mom and how she got dropped on by those foam blocks and still went down. Luckily, I'm like the Meeks twins. I can take 57 stabbings and keep on ticking.
I'm glad you're okay, but maybe you could tell me, what did you think of Scream 7 before you go?
What did I think? Give it a D+. A lot of plot holes, a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of plot devices that didn't make sense like the other Screams. Even Scream 6 was a masterpiece compared to this one.
That's a brutal review. Once again, I just want to reiterate that I'm very thankful that you purchased that plot armor before Scream 6 so that you were impenetrable to getting stabbed to death by Ghostface. You're going to be all right. Yeah?
Feeling a little woozy over here. He's back.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is Brock Lay's review of Scream 7. I really hope he's going to be with us for Scream 8. With that said, let's get to our spoiler section for Scream 7. So if you do not want to be spoiled on Scream 7, go ahead and tune out now.
Why can't they find their pops, man?
Because he's probably dead. His body will come popping up in the last reel somewhere. Eyes gouged out, fingers cut off, teeth knocked out. See, the police are always off track with this shit. If they watch Prom Night, they'd save time. There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
Let's talk about Scream 7 spoilers here. Full gloves are off. So now you gentlemen have carte blanche to say whatever you want about anything in this movie. So after being MIA in Scream 6, Neve Campbell, Sidney Prescott, she's front and center again. Scream 7, we've already talked about it. She's living in a new home in Pine Grove. So she's still kind of never gone back to Woodsboro sort of thing. And she's apparently become an overprotective mother who's sheltered her daughter from her past. She's also stopped talking about her book about recovering from trauma for reasons I don't totally understand. We're going to get into that. But before we get into all the nitty gritty, as we've said, Laron said it, I've said it, I think we're in agreement. Let's start with the killer reveal because that is sort of supposed to be like the thesis of the movie. And then we'll work backwards from like there, what worked and what didn't work or whatnot. Actually, Chris, I'll start with you since you were most positive on the film. What did you think about the killer's reveal, the motivations, the execution? I'll let you kick it off and we'll just kind of riff from there.
So, yeah, I mean, I was the most positive person here, but I can also say the killer reveal is like one of the worst parts of the movie. I'm okay with the motivations. Like, I think we've done the whole family, boyfriend, cousin. Like, we've done that many times. Now we've done fans. So I'm okay with the motivation of I read your book and I'm like you sort of thing. But like we keep saying, it's just the thread is not quite woven through. And one of the problems with especially the Ethan Embry character is the second we're in the hospital and he's telling us that that's John Doe, I know that guy, we know it's either Matthew Lillard or
that guy.
He's a fucking liar.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. On that moment, I looked at my wife and I was like, he's one of them. Like, you know, because the other thing is the movie goes out of its way to tell us later that if it was Stu, why would it be? That's such a stupid thing, which I agree. That would have been a stupid thing. So in that moment, I was like, well, the movie's not that stupid. There's no way they're that stupid to do that. So that guy has to be one of the killers.
Right. And then Gail and Sidney don't really go after that. They don't, like, they've been through this so many times. It seems like they would say, we better go ask somebody else and not just trust creepy rest home guy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's like, I think they still could have done it, but it's not veiled well enough, and the setups isn't quite there, so the payoff is not quite there. So I'm okay with the motivations. It's just it's not set up very well. And as far as
I'm going to push you a little bit. No, not to interrupt. Okay. I don't want to interrupt. I want to push you a little bit because I'd also be interested in hearing and continue your thought. I want us all to come back to this question. What were the motivations?
I'm like you. I don't know, buddy. It's like I'm like you because she's got trauma, right? The neighbor has trauma, divorce, and she is somehow. What was the connection between her and Ethan Embry? That is something I can't remember.
She went to that same asylum and she recruited him.
Somehow,
I think Ethan was what I took from it was he was kind of radicalized, or so to speak, by the Carl character, who was like a serial killer, and that kind of like started, and then
guys, there's 3 Ghostface in this, by the way.
How can we forget the third one?
Poor Carl.
Didn't forget Carl. So I think there was something there where like he set the violence up. Jessica set the central journey of like the Ghostface element to it.
Yeah. Gotta say, fantastic Gale entrance though. I'll give you that. That got a round of applause. I was okay. So we're gonna come in hot. We already killed a Ghostface, and then Gale pops out. I thought that was cheeky. It was silly, but it was funny. You know, I was like, okay, this is what this is now.
To your point, Caleb, the three of us had to come together just now to kind of find the.
I have a response, but I wanted to. He had directed it at you, but I do actually have a say on it, like about what I think they're getting at. I just think that. Go ahead. Go ahead. If you have.
I was just going to say, Caleb is shaking his head at Gale's entrance. I actually really liked that we ran over Ghostface because we've never seen Ghostface die 40 minutes in or whatever. So
that part was cool. That part was cool. It was the execution was like. Actually, it wasn't even the execution of Ghostface getting hit by the car. It was that they hit him with the car, and I got up and I literally said out loud, "Hey guys, the fan service has arrived," because you see the three most beloved characters in the franchise get out of one car. And I was like, all right, that was fine. What was annoying though was Ghostface just laying on the ground, and then like before they go to unmask him, Gale and Sidney are like, we gotta have a whole moment before I'm like, do we know he's dead? Like he can get up. Like I know you hit him with a car, but like, and there's like 3 minutes where he's just laying there. I'm like, are we just gonna like? I don't know. It just felt that's where it felt a little bit Dawson's Creek, like made for TV for me.
I'll give you that.
It was a funny moment. It was a funny moment though. I agree. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
No, I think that's it. I mean, to your point, we all had to come together just now to try to piece together the killer's relations and their motives, and I really want to watch it again. But I mean, it's the worst. It's the worst part of the movie. Laron, what do you have to say about the?
Okay, so I will say, in all fairness, I only grasped this on the second time. I did not. The first time you asked me in the lobby, I would have like, I don't even remember. It was so forgettable. But basically, yeah. So Scream 1 and 2 were like the horror is like super, super intimate, right? And then Scream 3, it has we've kind of expanded to like Hollywood myth making. In Scream 4, we're dealing with internet fame. In Scream 5 and 6, it kind of explored fan culture and franchise obsession. So in Scream 7, what I gathered from this is relevant to things that people do. It reminds me a lot of Misery, actually. It's about parasocial fixation, you know, and then you have this random neighbor who's mythologized Sidney's character, and which actually kind of tracks with the franchise. I feel like the evolution of the franchise. And Sidney is now more than just a woman, you know, that she's actually folklore at this point, you know, in tandem with all of the stab movies. So there's something there. It is just shit-tastically executed in terms of making that land in a way that feels substantive or meaningful. Because when I tell you go back and watch that sequence, it's probably 7.5 minutes between the reveal and the kill of all these people, and you're reminded that these characters together combined had maybe 3 scenes. Like Anna Camp. Mm-hmm. I knew Anna Camp was the Ghostface killer as soon as her face was on the poster of the movie. I was like, you don't put Anna Camp in a Scream movie and then sideline her. She's going to be freaking Ghostface because she's going to go ham as Ghostface. I know that. I knew that. I just didn't know who she was going to be. I thought she was going to be Stu's sister, who's referenced in 5. You know, they mentioned Leslie Mocker, and I was like, oh, maybe Stu has a sister, and she's going to like, that would have been more interesting to me. It would have been going back to the well a little bit, but at least it wouldn't have been so womp womp, you know, in terms of the
Misery comp is so interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, Misery, because it's all about the book. Sidney has the book, the Out of Darkness book.
Oh yeah.
Like literally, like she obsesses about the book. She wants it to be real. She feels like Sidney is you know, I liked your review on Letterboxd, Danny. You said like the motive for Scream 7 is Scream 6. And that's true.
Okay. Oh, that's another thing. Okay, that's another thing. I didn't mention it in the spoiler. That annoyed me. There's a lot of punching down at 6. Now,
I don't like that.
I don't like that. It reminds me of a little bit of the Star Wars thing again. Like I had a thing. You did something different. Oh, that was stupid. We're doing this direction instead.
It is
I'm
being meta though, because it is commenting on the fact that
on the
Neve
backstage
Campbell
politics
She
not
was
being
of
a
it.
screen
absent.
sit is
The
what
shit-
inspired
I'm fine with
Jessica
them.
to kill Sidney.
I'm fine with
It's like,
them acknowledging it. What
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't like the Gail thing, I was fine with, where she was like, she has the handshakes or whatever, the nerve
Yep.
damage from the stabs or whatever, and she was like, "I'm glad you sat 6 out," and it was
Yeah.
rough, guys. Like
Yes.
that's fine. That was fine. It was more so like the erasure for me of
Totally.
the Carpenter sisters. There's
Yeah.
not one reference to them in this. Not even
That's
I
true.
assumed we were going to get one line like that we did in 6
Huh.
of Sydney. You know, they were like, Sydney sends her love, but she's going to sit this one out. Like they mentioned, it's kind of phoned in, but at least they acknowledge that Sydney's gone. You know, like we're
Yeah.
all, it's a glaring elephant in the room.
Yeah, even
the fact
Chad
that
or
they,
Mindy could have said
yeah,
something.
they were like, yeah, like I talked to her the other night. They're whatever. Even if it was just like, you had to put it in there to connect it to this. Basically, like the studio all decided we're not even going to talk about them. I don't like
Yeah,
that
that's a
because it
bummer. I
feels a
agree.
little spiteful to that whole thing. And I'm like, at least in the context of the narrative, they should have been referenced because they were 2 movies into it. They were characters that existed with these people, and they just don't reference them at all.
There was just like really subtle jabs about how it wasn't a good time. I did the Gale thing was fine, like because I thought that was actually a nice organic way to reference it. But I feel like there was like Joel McHale. So I don't know. I need to watch it again to like for the details. But there was like I think there was like 3 times like I clocked it where there was like references about how the things in New York. Oh man, that was bad. You know. But you know, either that's being nitpicky, honestly. I think Danny, I want to get your take on this too, but the parasocial angle, I picked up on that a little bit. Again, I didn't drive that all, like I don't think the movie drives it home, but I was like, okay, she's in love with Sidney, the survivor. But I guess I hadn't really picked up on what does that mean. But you, Laron, did it. I mean, I love how you just put that in a larger context of like it's about the toxicity of parasocial relationships, which in a certain way could have been, it's not, but it could have been a conversation with Scream 4 even, because the whole point of Scream 4 is I want to get famous. Well, the flip side of that is you are famous and then people get obsessed with you and like it can get nasty, which is a real thing that has happened. So I think that's a great play. I wish the movie had really dug into that more.
Drive it home. Yeah.
Danny, how about you? I mean, like, what did you think about the reveal?
That's interesting that you brought up Scream 4 because there is kind of a thing where like, you know, the idea of Sydney's self-help book inspiring someone to kill their husband is, I actually think is fucking so cool. Like, I wish they just let it cook a little longer because I love it. Because it creates a villain.
It's just half baked.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the problem.
But that concept creates a villain, like a great villain to mirror Sydney's journey as a survivor because they're both survivors. You know, like the only difference is another thing that I like about that I wish they even stated a little bit more was this is our first Scream movie where, you know, it's like the mental asylum inmates have escaped, you know, and they just so happen to put on Ghostface masks and they're in cahoots. So it's very like there's an unpredictability to it where like obviously every killer has something, you know, like there's something clearly psychotic about them. This one is very like on the nose. So there's an expectation to be like, oh, they must be so dangerous that they're already locked up for committing a violent crime. The fact that we're going to see them go even further and then to don the Ghostface mask is a very neat idea. It's very Michael Myers-y kind of, you know, he's like an escaped patient and so that's fun. I will say like Jessica and Marco, even though like they are climbing up my Ghostface rankings, the more I think about them, even though I do like, I'll just keep repeating is like, I just wish they had more time to cook in the climax. Wish they had more screen time. But, like even with Marco, Ethan Embry's character, least developed, but it's fucking Ethan Embry is now officially part of the Ghostface legacy. Just makes me so
crazy.
happy.
It's kind of
like,
crazy, yeah.
I am like truly like full of joy just for that. Do I wish they did more with him? Yes, but I actually think he gives a decent performance. It's not like bad. And
he's just not there enough.
He doesn't have enough to do. The script does like zero work with that character.
He has one scene. And it's like a minute and a half. I'm like, and the same thing with Anna Camp. She has two scenes.
She's got 3 scenes. I think she's got, well, you would know better than me. She has the scene with Sidney, and then there's like, I think there's one scene in the auditorium when they've got everyone round up, and then I want
right.
to say I think there's
Outside
one
the
other one.
house.
Yeah, outside the house. That's
There's
it.
one
Yeah.
outside the house. Yeah.
Right. But she's barely speaking. So she's just not fleshed out. And I was like,
Yeah.
again, all the things that are here could probably work if they this needed to incubate longer. They needed to give this 4 or 5 more passes before
because she does state, watching it the second time, she does talk about like how she tells Sidney like this is a dangerous world, you have to be prepared. But I mentioned this to someone, we never see the book. This book that is supposed to be the motivation.
Yeah.
Show the book.
Show that
Like,
you have the book.
well,
Show the pages on the
It could have
screen.
had
It
Jessica
gets
could have been
referenced-
like
Gets
she could have
referenced
been like,
once.
hey, that's
gets
the
referenced
thing.
once.
That's the problem. We could have had, to kind of like tie it in with technology. Sidney could have found out that like Tatum's listening to her audio book of her own book. And she's like, oh, here we go. The door's open. We're going to have to talk about it. And then it's also like, wink, wink. There's also like a modernization of the book coming into play. So get ready for that.
Like her understanding her mother through the book, which she hasn't read up to this point.
And then we're like, oh,
Her
book.
connecting with her mom and then pairing
Yeah.
it with the like, oh, I finally get what you meant by this. And there's again, it's there. It's just it's not there. That's the thing.
Opportunity is wide open for that too.
It's so
It's made to have that.
It's
It's
frustrating.
It's it's barely coherent in the movie. I mean, I haven't only seen it the one time, but when I was watching it, I was like,
It's
I'm
confusing.
picking up breadcrumbs. We mentioned nostalgia and the rules scene, which again, worst rules scene by a mile. Like not even close. And then I'm like, okay, nostalgia. Okay, the trauma thing I kind of got, and then the motherhood was the third thing. And that's another thing that I was like, dude, there's an idea here. Because you mentioned earlier, I think Chris, her being the foil, Anna Camp being the foil for Sidney. She's also the mother of her son, who she then kills as part of like her mission. And I'm like, okay, you make her the dark mirror of Sidney. There's something to be said about that, and they just do nothing with it. We don't have enough scenes with them together. It feels like a throwaway.
The son should have been in the finale. They killed too many people too soon. They could have even just had it where like have Lucas there. And then she kills him or Marco kills him. And it's just like, oh my God, Sidney would never, but we're making a point here. Like, God, they could have even had Jessica like been like, hey, I know this is kind of stupid, Sidney, but can you sign my book? I have your Into Darkness book. Like, so it's kind of like cute and it almost kind of takes the attention off of Jessica.
Where were we in the writing room?
I know, it's just like little things. Just plant the seed.
Yeah.
So when we pay off, we're like, oh, that's what they mentioned in the book.
Yeah.
I will say I really do like Anna Camp as Jessica as Ghostface.
She goes so hard.
She went for it. I'll give her. She was perfect for it. It's just I
feel like she knows who her character is. Like when she starts kind of like spiraling out, it felt real. In the way, like, some people can convince themselves of something like, what a great idea. Like, I'll kill my husband. And then the way that she, like Misery, God, I love that you said that because it makes the ending actually land so much better, is this love of this person, this trust that they put in someone that they've never met, and the way that they are so emotionally abandoned by them if they don't play the part that they were expecting
that they want them to play.
Yeah, like I needed
Sydney's
you to be
mom.
this for
She's
me
happy.
to survive.
She's settled.
Yeah.
She's over Ghostface. Now I don't have a purpose to go on. So I have to create this space for her. That's a real thing. That's a real thing that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, not to the Ghostface extreme, but I mean, that's a real thing that people do that have this obsession with these kinds of.
Especially on the internet of like social media and internet pot. Yeah. Like parasocial things are real. I mean, relationships are a very real thing. And there have been people who have done crazy things.
They should have spelled this out in the movie. They should have had one of the teen characters literally just doing that. Someone say like, God, you're so obsessed with that person, blah, 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 blah. You never even met them. Boom. That way, when we get the Ghostface reveal,
have the themes
it's
rolling
the
around.
Exaggerated version of that. Yeah, it's like, oh, they were telling us what this movie was the whole time. How did I not put it together?
Because there's not enough there. They settled for chase scenes and settled for like, okay, we got 2 chase scenes. We got a couple. We got to kill people, guys. We don't have time to flesh any of these people out. We have a half of an idea, but we'll figure it out in post. That's what it feels like. It just feels like
Yep.
there were things here, breadcrumbs here, but it's just so half baked and undercooked.
There's
So it just
something there. And then the Marco thing is disappointing because it's like, oh, like give us something, give us one like more solid like motive for why he's doing it. Like I get it, he wants to kill people for whatever reason, yada yada yada. But there needs to be something.
I might have misread it. I thought he fell in love with her when she was in the asylum. Maybe I totally missed. I need to watch it again. But that was because that was the only thing I could come up with for like why he would be doing
that
stuff.
makes sense. I mean, if he was kind of like, because he talks about assuming like what he was saying about Stu and Carl was true, that they kind of like became close, and maybe Carl had inspiration, but in this case, it's not Stu, it's Marco. Okay, so he was like radicalized, and for he brought out the bad guy in him, and then fell in love with Jessica, who also like, so he was kind of like consumed by that, like that's his new identity. But it wasn't like they were like, oh, he works at Google and he
he knows tech. Cool.
But I'm like, so what? Like so many people.
I also love how Sydney's like treated like as like a matronly lady here, where she goes like, "Do you know anything about AI?" Yeah. It's like, girl, I know you are a call center girl. You've grown up in this universe. Your daughter's 17. You know what AI is. Like, right? Come on, like you're not a grandmother. Like, but
that's
that was
the
a little
thing
music.
too with the AI thing. I actually love that they talked about it. AI.
Oh, me too. I love that they talked about it.
It's of the moment. I think the execution was bad. I mean, I feel like I'm doing the same thing I did before the movie came out, where I'm like, what if? Like, so I understand that's annoying, but I think they could have simplified it, actually. I think by having this visual version of AI made it a little corny. If she was just getting phone calls from like past Ghostfaces or past victims just to fuck with her, boom, like that's so much more on an emotional level interesting for the character than to just do these like pop-ups of like, whoa, look what we're doing. Like at the end of the day, like the Stu mystery really doesn't make any sense.
It fizzed out and made no sense afterwards. Yeah,
there's no reason for them to jump through all the hoops to like.
We didn't need Stu. We didn't need a Stu element in this at all. We really didn't. They didn't make a case for why Stu needed to be included here.
It was a really lazy and dumb red herring that also doubled as fan service. That's my take anyway. Chris, you've been real quiet. On the note of AI, what did you think about the incorporation of AI into this film?
Yeah, so I think the idea is fantastic. And I think to Danny's point, it would be one of those things. It's like, oh yeah, that movie came out when AI was becoming a thing. Like it fits in the time well. I think it's smart to use it, but I think it would have been used so much better if it had been creating breadcrumbs. Like you said, I thought of the phone calls too. And what if there were like pictures online and it's like people start to notice, is that Stu in the background of the looky-loos in the crime scene? There's no way that's Stu. And we find a hair at a crime scene. It tests positive for Stu Macher. What the heck? And if it was like more making us as an audience go, no.
Is he alive?
Maybe.
But maybe AI thing should be breaking our brain. It should be like totally throwing us off.
Exactly. Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
And then if we have to do the video with Matthew Lillard, if you do that at like 70 minutes in, then it has us all going, whoa, okay, wait. And we've bought into this idea that maybe he's alive now. I think it would mean a lot more.
I agree.
But if you just drop him in 20 minutes in or 25 minutes in, however early he comes in, immediately we're going, there's no way that's Stu.
It's just shock value at that point. It's not narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you built up to it, I think it would have worked a lot better.
1,000%.
And it seemed exactly like that's what they were trying. Sans the AI part, because they were all like, his body, the only person who could verify that his body, like they should have been doing that, but with the AI component, how the internet is being flooded with misinformation and fake images. And then that's the meta commentary. It's like, I don't even know what to believe anymore because the movie's sending me all these signals that he's still alive, even though I was so sure he's not alive. And then the movie just does not go there at all. It just feels like
it was handed to them. It's right there.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm again, this is not the movie's fault necessarily. This is like my interpretation of what the marketing materials were telling me what the movie was going to be about. But I was really like, burn it all down. I'm like, okay. So AI is going to come in, like they're literally burning the house down. It's going to be kind of about how AI is consuming all of this story and this lore to give us like a new lesser version of the thing. And I was like, but they didn't, they just did not, this really didn't, it felt like tacked on, like, well, we can do deep fakes, right? Okay, let's make that part of the story. And it didn't feel like they'd really knew anything about how AI worked, the impact it's having on the internet, the psychology of people who don't know how to like sift through information meaningfully. Just huge missed opportunity. I felt
all it was saying, it's such a good point. All it was saying was AI can be confusing, not AI is scary. Not, it's just like, whoa, maybe it's him. Okay, so what? Even if it is, then it is.
Like
and
a killer
could. And then there's no ramification either way. It either is or it isn't. What does that have to do with Sidney?
And to your point, Caleb, fake news can really, truly make us believe something that is not real.
We're our own echo chambers. There's so many ways they could have explored that meaningfully, and they just decided to use it as a gimmick rather than, an actual device in the story that could work to have a discourse about it. So,
Damn.
Yeah. Missed opportunity. Well, maybe let me ask you this question, and then we'll head to kind of like our, where do we want to see the franchise go next and close out. But I mean, listen, guys, we're 7 movies in. We've seen the formula done 7 times. And this movie, it's funny you mentioned Kevin Williamson was talking about how he was going light on the commentary and stuff. This movie also seems to kind of like roll its eyes at the Scream formula, even though the movie's kind of following the formula. Like, so when Mindy does the rules scene, Chad even rolls his eyes and he's like, "Oh my God, I told you we can't do this again." And, then she does a very lame version of it. But, there's still like, that is still part of the formula. There's an opening kill. There's a rules explanation. And then there's the reveal with motives that usually tie back and sort of inform what the movie's about. Question for you guys, 7 movies in, and we are we are certainly, definitely going to get a Scream 8. Does this formula still hold up, or do we need are we due for a refresh? And I'll throw it to you, Laron.
I am always going to advocate, and I think, Chris, you and I have spoke about this. Actually, I think me and all of us have out now. I'm going to advocate for a new nightmare version of Scream where we can actually still honor Wes Craven's legacy, but we have the real actors playing the characters and a real live Ghostface is chasing them in that very meta contextual way where we can still be riffing on movies, but playing with the formula a little bit, changing the format of it. It just needs something fresh, because that's what's happening. Is unfortunately, this one feels stale. It's doing the same things that the other ones did, but not as cleverly, not as thought out, not as sharp, not as, so I think that would be a bold direction to go in with this, where I think that you could have fun with it. Then you can bring back Dewey and you can bring back Matthew Lillard. Then you can do all those things, but you do it in a, you know what I mean? Like a creative, fresh, new, innovative sort of way. That's something I'd like to see. I don't think I'm ever going to get that movie. I think we're going to follow along with this. But if we're going this route, is there anything left to riff on? I guess what you're asking, like in general, in terms of the franchise, we haven't really gone into like prequels. We haven't really gone into like the spin-offs, like how Marvel has their A movies and they have their television shows and they have their individual characters, all that kind of stuff. There's a couple of different like things of that nature that we haven't.
Where's my Kirby spinoff? We're gonna get a whole Kirby spinoff where she's an FBI agent being chased by Ghostface.
Yes. No, I'm not saying we need a movie where she's the lead in it, but I mean like a riff on those kinds of movies, if that makes sense.
Clever.
Like, so,
what's their take on it? Yeah.
Like what's their take on those kinds of things, that the IPification where we have to just oversaturate these things in every different form, different medium, just to keep things alive. And I mean, there's something to be said there. I feel like, at least maybe about capitalism, I don't know, but maybe not about movies. So those are two things. Those are two things that come to mind if I was going to the well and saying, where should we go from here? But all that being said, I do absolutely think that when we said we were passing the torch in 5, that is something I personally, maybe it's a hot take with Scream fans, I'm happy to see Neve back. I'll be happy to see her for 1 or 2 more at the most. But I'll say like we need to be moving towards a new generation, because I don't want 60-year-old Neve fighting Ghostface. I don't want that personally, but You know, like, so I
Unless
think
it has something to say, unless there's like, oh no, this is, trust me, you got to see this because they do something really clever with it. Like, great,
they got to
but
have a
it
good
has to have a
idea.
purpose.
I
Yeah.
mean, we're going to get the Scream riff on the Halloween reboot 2018. Like, I mean, I don't want to see that. I'll be honest, I don't want to see that at all. But I'm like, I don't know. It's like, where else do you go? Like, you know,
If you keep her, that's what, yeah, what do you do?
grandmotherhood. Like,
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think that's a sound point. The spin-offs thing and prequel thing's interesting. You know, and frankly, maybe we could get a Scream TV show. I know there was a TV show that had 3 seasons, but I do feel like, you know, make it a Paramount Plus exclusive deal.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an avenue. Yeah, because you can also play with TV formulas at that point.
Maybe we get like
the movie
maybe
could do the TV thing. Like there could be something like weird and very like self-referential about that.
Yeah, maybe we do like like they did with Machete and Thanksgiving. We get an in-universe stab movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
That
a
would be
stab movie
interesting.
that's
That'd be fun.
Scream-esque. Some people would argue we got that with this, but you know. But
No, I know, Laron, I'm not gonna lie. As a Ryan Johnson stan, I do in fact want to see Stab 8, where they're playing with flamethrowers and all the fans hate it. I want to see that movie.
What is that movie?
Just do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all that said, though, I mean, the formula itself, though, Laron, you're still saying you're still game for the formula. What you're saying is new characters, different application.
I think it's a tried and true formula that works. It's just that if you don't have anything to say, then pause until you do. That's my argument. That's what I'm saying. If there's nothing going on with the genre, then we don't have anything to satirize. Then we need to wait 5-10 years for another Scream movie. That's just period. Like we have nothing. It needs to change and evolve. You know, like you can't churn these out like Michael Myers movies because they have to do so much more. They have to comment. They have to be funny. Have to be clever. They have to satirize things. And if there's nothing to satirize, then it starts to feel repetitive and
it starts to feel like starts to feel like the thing it once satirized. You know?
Exactly. So I think that's what 4 benefited from. You know, we had a large gap until we got that. They had a lot more to comment on. 5 and 6 had less to comment on. You know, like and 7 had nothing to comment on. so there's that. You know.
Chris, how about you? What do you think? I mean, you know, a huge. I mean, even like this film, like, do you think the formula still holds up? And like, where could they possibly take it next?
Yeah, I mean, I think Laron actually put it really well. I think the formula holds up. There just has to be something to talk about. And I do think movies are moving quick enough, pop culture is moving quick enough that I think there's always going to be something to say. But they need to say something.
Yeah.
And, you know, to Laron's point, prequels, spin-offs, everything you guys have already said, I think there are lots of avenues to go down. I will say I would like to see the new Nightmare version.
Yeah.
But my concern with it is that, and this is coming from a Scream lover who loves watching these movies and loves watching these characters, even when they're not perfect movies. My concern with it is I think as soon as you do that, I'm afraid that the nail is in the coffin for the series. And I love the series so much.
I mean,
you do have to close it after that. I agree.
And I get that, you know, Caleb thinks it's time to close the coffin, but I just love the characters so much and I love the world so much that I don't know that I want to see it close quite yet. So, and I get wanting to see a new, younger cast, not wanting to see old Jamie Lee Curtis, Neve Campbell battling Ghostface. But if we're going to do the new cast, you have to make me love and care about the characters. And the main character has to be really compelling, and her performance has to be better than Barrera's performance was in Scream 5. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'll always be down to see the next Scream movie. I'm down if Neve Campbell is in it. I'm down if it's not Neve Campbell. I'm always going to buy the ticket. Yeah. But I have to. I think beyond the commentary is important. It's what Scream is. But if I don't care about the characters, nothing matters.
Nothing matters at all. Yeah,
I really need to care about these characters, which is why I'm still with this movie and why it got a B from me and not a D-, is because I do care, even if the commentary is kind of lacking.
Yeah, that's fair. All fair points, and I appreciate the passion. Danny, anything you want to add?
Honestly, not much to add outside of everything you said. Like, I actually thought this movie was going to be the prequel movie because they kept talking about the past in all the marketing. So I was like, oh, this is fun. They're going to like, God, they could have even used like AI tech to like, I thought like, imagine opening up on it's playing by the prequel rules, like opening up on Maureen Prescott's murder, you know, showing Billy and Stu. Did she get a phone call? Why wouldn't she have if that wasn't, you know what I mean? Like there's something there and like, maybe we learned something new or, you know, so that was fun with this one. As far as it like having something to say, I definitely, you know, I'm kind of just wrapping up what we've already talked about, but because there was so much emphasis on the mother-daughter storyline, it does come at the expense of giving time for the social commentary. So it's a bummer, but maybe in hindsight, we'll look back and go, this was the mother-daughter movie. Like it is what it is. As far as where the franchise can go, you know, it's the most successful one yet, at least out of the gate. So I think they're going to try to stick with a lot of the ingredients. Like I think Isabel May is going to be our new lead. I do think we'll follow her to college. I think if we do that, it could be fun. This is just sort of like an idea I had where it'd be neat to disconnect her from Sydney so that we can kind of give them space. So Tatum can be a survivor on her own, have her travel abroad. And then you can play with like international horror and play with like Hostel, American Werewolf in London. Let her like do her thing. And then we
give
can
a tropical island scream. That's what I want.
Yeah,
I want
Ghostface goes Hawaii.
Different locales or different times. I know there was at one point we were talking about the Christmas theme screen. I actually do think that would at least help kind of like keep it feel freshing, you know?
Yeah, give it something. I'd also really love it if you have Chad and Mindy, who are some of my favorite characters, and it is so hard to make an iconic, memorable legacy character out of someone who's only been in a few of them out of 7. So I really hope they don't waste them like they did in 7.
Yeah.
I think they could lead a movie. I would love to see the Chad and Mindy Scream sequel. Like, yeah, like they're so good. They have so much heart. They're connected with Randy. There's something really interesting there. So yeah, I just swing for the fences, Scream.
Yeah.
Swing for the fences and give all that swinging.
Don't be safe like this. Take a risk.
I want a weird reveal. Like Toxic Fandom in 5 is actually so simple, but is so insane. And it's just, I love it. It's so identifiable as the movie.
We
that
know what it is.
This
We've
one
seen it.
Isn't. Yeah. This one doesn't feel identifiable, which is a bummer. So just be identifiable, say something, and commit to the bit. And that's all I can really ask for in a Scream movie.
Yeah. Well said. Swing for the fences. I like the international idea. I mean, honestly, just adding different like flavors, even if it's like a pretty similar formula. And again, having something to say is important. I'm going to go in I'm going to riff a little bit or add a yes and. I actually do like the new Nightmare idea. And Chris, I hear what you're saying. That does feel like the nail in the coffin. And I think the way I would look at it is it would be a nail in the coffin for this continuity of characters that we have spent so much time with. And I do love the characters. And listen, it's all positive. I love the characters from the original cast. I love the characters from the legacy cast. This is why I'm like, I just don't know where to go. It feels like we have reached a point where there's not a clear like next step that feels fresh because we had to go back to the well for this one. So maybe we sunset it with the new Nightmare setting. And then I'm going to switch medias to video games for a second, but I'll try to keep it really brief. 2017, Zelda Breath of the Wild. We hadn't gotten a Zelda game in like 6 years. I don't know how many Zelda fans there are out there, but what I will say is between 1998 Ocarina of Time and 2011's Skyward Sword had a very repetitive formula throughout those games, right? And it's a gameplay loop. I loved it. I still love it. It's a thing that's great, but it was definitely a point where you're like, we've done like 6 of these. I feel like it's kind of getting boring a little bit, so what they did was they basically just threw everything that you thought you knew about the formula out the window and said, what is it about these games that people like? And it's more like they honed it on certain themes and they went back to like the very original game and like broke it down and they built like a whole new style of game that still includes all of the same core elements that people latched onto about like adventure, exploring, discovery, bosses, dungeons, all that stuff is still there, but it's a totally different game than like, the formula that was running for like a good like 15 years. I say that to say I think you get the new Nightmare because I do think that's a really cool, inspired idea, and I think that would satisfy like the demand / interest / business case for like bringing back all these old faces quite a bit more than what we got here. Ran out of time for that, but man, what a waste of so many cool actors with the AI thing. But it would also set the stage for, okay, now we've really got to reinvent this. Let's go back to the original and look at what was it people liked about it. Remove the formula, throw the formula out the window. What was it about the movie that worked? And how can we create a new formula based on those same components? That is not easy to do, by the way. And it's very risky. But at this point, you're making money. The formula feels like it's getting really tired. The characters feel like they've kind of met the logical conclusion. I feel like that's really the only place to go. Myself.
It's so smart. That's what they need to bring to the room is exactly what you said. Is just like, let's talk it out. Let's try something. Like it's already, we're already making money. It's so smart. It's so strange that they're not talking about that and that they are for a franchise
that they're unwilling to go further with it. It's like we already got them like
on subversion, like subvert. Just
we're
keep subverting.
We're 7 movies in.
Waiting. Maybe they're waiting until we hit Scream 10 and it's like, oh, the box office is a little weak. Okay, we have one last trick up our sleeve.
I don't see him
because that's always great.
Nightmare, though, right? Like Freddy's Dead was horrible, right? And so, New Nightmare was like kind of the last trick, and I know they weren't holding onto that card. Wes Craven had the card, I think, but came up with it. But maybe it's just like, oh, we're making too much money and there's too much momentum to kill it now, and maybe they feel like it it would be a reset and they don't know how to start over.
I just think they should take risks, and I think that like you said, they already got us like in the palm of their hands. Clearly we're 7 movies in and it made more money than the first one. That makes no sense to me at all, but like for some reason the fan base is still hungry for this, so try something. Clearly we're sticking around no matter what you do or what you fuck up.
You gotta Fast and Furious 5 this shit, Laron. Okay, Fast and Furious 5 was like
retcons that we like.
Yeah. Oh man, you're right. I left that off the table. But seriously, like that movie reinvented that entire series. And then they ran that, and they have effectively run that formula into the ground by now. But I'm just saying, like, that is an example of like, well, we did all this stuff, we tried this stuff, it worked or didn't work. Let's like pull something new together, and holy shit, it's really cool. It's really good, and it made a ton of money. Let's keep it going. I'm excited for Scream 8, or excited is not the right word. I'm hopeful for Scream 8, and I hope you guys are too. Despite me really hating this movie, I want to believe that we're going to get one more good one at least. Well, guys, is there anything else at all? We have talked for 2.5 hours about Scream 7, longer than the movie, in fact. Any closing thoughts before we sign off for the day?
I think we had more to say than Scream 7.
Yeah.
And I say,
full quote for the episode. What do you guys think of Scream 7? That's the full quote. No.
We had more to say than the movie. Guys, it's been so much fun. Hope Brock's okay. Sorry he ditched us over all this, but maybe we'll see him again soon. For those of us who did join us at the microphone today, Danny Salim, where can people keep up with you and all your work online?
You can find me pretty much on Instagram and Letterboxd. I'm technically on Blue Sky, but I don't really use it. Find me on Letterboxd. I want more. I crave more Letterboxd people to chat with, and I want to like see more. I feel like I see the same few people. I want to see like everyone's reviews. I want to connect over film. If it's going to be social media, I love that it's movie related. So yeah. So find me on Letterboxd. It's just my name, by the way. It's just DANNYSALEMME.
He wants more fans.
I don't need friends. I need fans.
Chris Oz McIntosh, thank you so much for joining, man. Where can people find you and your work on the internet?
Yeah, hit me up on Instagram at Chris Oz McIntosh. You can also follow my work on chrisozmcintosh.com. I am on Letterboxd. Connect with me there if you want, but I haven't quite gotten it down yet. I'm not quite committed enough. I haven't decided if I'm going to follow Danny. I don't want to be a parasocial fanboy there,
Oh man.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't want to go crazy over.
It's
over
too late
getting
for
here.
me, I guess. You know,
Yeah. Laron has tried to murder me several
I'm
times.
already there.
It's just not a safe
No,
space,
no,
but we
I'll be
love
there.
our discourse.
Laron, in fact, is recording from a hotel room right outside Danny's home.
Yeah,
So,
watch the door opens behind him. It's LaRon.
It's Danny's spare bedroom right there. That's not
Laron Chapman, thanks so much for sticking with us here on the Cinematic Schematic, for being my friend and my co-host. We've been together for 3 whole Scream movies now. So thanks.
Will we be there
rejoining.
for 4? That's the real test. But I love you right now, so we can say that we're going strong still.
Let's go for 4.
There's still some gas in that tank.
Where can people find you and all the cool things you're doing on the internet? Which, by the way, I hear this year is a lot of cool stuff.
A lot of cool things. Yeah, I got a feature film in the works. Hopefully this fall we'll be shooting that. Yay. My first horror movie myself. So I'm very excited about that. You can follow my Letterboxd reviews at black_Cinna_man. You can also follow me here on the Cinematropolis for more episodes. I also have a review column, Real Insights with Laron Chapman, REEEL. So follow me on those if you want to hear me talk more about movies that I love or don't.
All right. Well, of course, I'll sign us off. You can find me at C Masters Talk. That's letter C Masters Talk, Letterboxd, Instagram. But honestly, if you just head to the cinematropolis.com, you'll find all of our work there. And it would be super duper cool is if you subscribe to us on YouTube and liked this video, or if you're listening on a podcast player, leaving us a rating and a review that'll help us get discovered by more Scream heads just like you. And you are definitely a Scream head if you are listening to this podcast at 2.5 hours in. No doubt. You are the truest fan that there is. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We'll be back again next week with our big annual Oscars predictions special. Me, Laron, a couple of other very special guests, very eager to see. Is it going to be Sitters? Is it going to be one battle after another? Is it going to be Avatar, Fire and Ash? We'll see. Catch you again next time.